Yes, it is Trash Talk. Your Messiah has not forsaken you. I have returned. Um, it's been a long time since we've done a show. There's been loads of shit going on, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But just in case you're tuning in for the first time out of some fucked up morbid curiosity, because I have noticed since I got verified on Twitter, I just get like 100, 200 people like just randomly adding me over the course of a week. And I don't know who they are, and they don't know who I am probably. So maybe they just saw a tweet and they thought, who the fuck's this guy and what does he do? So Trash Talk is a phone in. It's all about esports, although actually, you know what? If you want to call in and just talk about shit, like I'll probably indulge it because esports is kind of fucking boring right now after 10 years in the trenches. But anyway, it's predominantly an esports phone-in show where you set the agenda and I listen and then I correct you. That's pretty much how it works. It's therapy for both of us. I get to work on my people skills. You guys get educated and enlightened. It's fucking win-win. And with me, as always, is my not-so-faithful producer, stuck in the swamps of Port Talbot. It is Sam. How are you doing?
For some reason, every time I do a trash talk, I just catch a fucking disease. And I don't know if it's just that we'd always do them after a Six Nations game, or if it's just esports is eating away the very small part of living flesh I have left.
Well, you know, I gotta say, Sam, I have noticed a trend. Like, whenever we do these shows, you always sound ill. Like, seriously. And I think, you probably have got something with you. You know, I don't want to alarm you. But could you tell me the symptoms? What are the symptoms?
Regret, apologizing to parents, reflecting on what my life could have been if I just stayed in school like everyone else.
You've got a case of the esports, mate. And it also sounds like your immune system might be eating itself. So, you know, hopefully you make it through the show. If not, do you know what? I've got the producers on standby. Just know you won't be missed.
Just know you're replaceable.
Yeah, totally. What have we been up to while I've been away? Look, man, I got really sick myself. I had a bad case of the esports, and I've been fighting for life. So basically, I've been kind of all over the place and not doing anything. But I've started making YouTube videos. I've started committing to doing an actual proper streaming routine again. I am going to be streaming late night games again. I'm going to try and make myself do that. And Sam, we've got a new show coming.
Indeed, we do.
So, in the interests of wanting to branch out, you know, I've been talking to people at Twitch about trying to do more things. So we're going to start a new 1 hour show called I Hate It Here, which is basically we just talk with occasionally we'll get someone on the show, maybe not an esports personality. The show is very little to do with esports, essentially. It's just going to talk about all of the shit things that are going on planet Earth right now in the news, and it'll vary from the absolutely awful to the kind of funny but still kind of awful. So we're going to broadcast that at some point and see how it goes over. I have no idea when, but I'll certainly keep you all abreast of that. And First Blood is going to be back. We've had lots of people fucking supreme amount of effort just to get some people to talk about games. So I'm probably going to switch up the format a little bit. I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, but we are going to broadcast tomorrow a little bit earlier than usual. It's going to be around about 7 o'clock Central European time, 6 o'clock UK time, and the guest is going to be Last Shadow, or LS as he refers to himself now, the coach. So there we go. So that's everything. If you're an ongoing Richard Lewis fan, that's all you need to know moving forward. Now, what's been going on in esports since the last time we did Trash Talk? Lots of things, because we haven't done one for fucking ages. But let's just go through some of the big stories this week. Obviously, we had IEM Katowice, TSM went on to win it in the League of Legends tournament, beating Koreans en route, and everyone is wow. TSM fans have become even more fucking just insufferable than they were to begin with, and of course the whole NA being a strong region debate has come to the forefront. Some people are saying that the Korean teams were actually, not at the best condition, including Lustboy himself in a recent blog. Other people are saying, no, that's just a Korean apologists trying to detract from TSM's true achievement. What do you guys think about it? Call in if you're a TSM fan. I know it's perhaps past your bedtime, but I would like to hear from you. On top of that, we obviously had the CSGO. Fnatic have they finally put to bed all these accusations of cheating? The anti-cheat measures at Katowice were as tight as a drum. Players had to hand in their hardware and have them examined. And guess what? Flusher actually played well and didn't seem to lift his mouse at all. At any point. And they went on and won the whole major, beating Nip in the final. Nip were betting in a new player in the form of Arlu. How do you all think that went? If you're a CSGO fan, definitely call in and let's talk about it. What else has been going on? Well, we've got all sorts going on Reddit at the moment. In StarCraft, we had Winter, the #1 StarCraft streamer, finally exposed as using view bots. The only question is now whether he's paying for that service or whether someone's doing it without his knowledge. I interviewed him literally just before I came on air, and he still maintains his innocence. You'll be able to read that interview a little bit in a little bit on the Daily Dot. But that's a big drama over in StarCraft. I interviewed Vortic or Vortic, depending on how you pronounce it, which I never asked him, and it just drove everyone mad, Sam.
It was the best piece of work
It
you've ever
just-
done. That's got to
it-
be one for the fridge.
It drove everyone absolutely fucking insane, and I have no idea why. I mean, like the amount of comments that I got, which were like, "Oh, I get interview if I comment on YouTube?" No, you fucking don't. You're just a mong. Vortic is a Vortic is a fucking clever troll. You're just an asshole. There's a difference. So I have no idea why this fucking I got so much shit for publishing that. While it's simultaneously being really popular and having a higher approval rating of than most of my work. Ridiculous. But anyway, if you are Vortic, maybe you want to call in and troll people some more on my show. Let's absolutely go for it. And just finally, there was ESL news, quite a few things, but they're going to be bringing live esports to theaters around the world. So you'll be able to go to a theater, probably it's one of those creepy sex theaters with guys jerking off in the back, but you'll be able to watch esports there while simultaneously being accosted by Fred Talbot. So that's it. That's a fair summary of the week in esports. Sam, have we got any callers? And if so, what the fuck do they want to talk about?
Yes, we do. First, we have Noah, and he wants to talk about IEM and the patch situation. Obviously, the patch being rolled out at different times in different regions. The Twitch, YouTube content copyright infringement, which I guess is in collaboration with what happened to Destiny with his week ban, and pro player rights and different ways to get in the way of someone monetizing their craft.
Sounds like a fucking broad topic, but that's fair enough because I'm a broad host. So let's get Noah on. Noah, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Great, Noah. So lots, like as I said, quite a broad topic. Lots to talk about. I think we'll start with the patch situation at IEM. Obviously, different regions have been playing on different patches just prior to the event. Perhaps you can give us your thoughts about that.
Yeah, and in case this isn't clear, I was hoping Vanillor would tell you based on my Skype name. I'm Risen Lazarus, the guy who posted that thread and wrote that whole long ass article and
Well,
tweeted it to you.
how nice to meet you. I don't know if you've called in before. Apologies, my memory's a little bit fucked up for some reason. Probably it's the steady diet of alcohol and drugs. But I did say you support my work and you regularly tweet at me, so it is a true pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Thank you, and it's thank you for sharing. I guess that link. I was hoping it would get picked up by somebody. So there's that.
So yes, tell me all about it then, brother, because I think this is it's something that kind of went under the radar. I don't think it got the attention that I believe it deserves. I think a few people brought it up on several occasions, but no one really seized upon it. I think everyone was just so excited about the TSM victory that no one really attempted to contextualize it. So, could you give us a brief overview of the situation?
Yeah, sure. So again, it's all in that long ass piece that I wrote, but pretty much what we have is a situation where because of the way the regions are regulated and the different companies that are in play with delivering the client to the servers that are in those different localities, you've got patches coming out at different times for different regions. So, traditionally we think of China and we remember, back in season 2, season 3 Worlds, they were always like 1 or 2 patches behind. And they're still in that situation for whatever reason. And so what we saw with this IEM event is that Riot, or I guess Riot and ESL together, decided the tournament we played on 5-4. which was the most recent patch for the Western teams. They've been playing NA and EU LCS back in week 7
Hmm.
or week 8, I think it is. But anyways, they've had a week worth of competitive play on it, whereas Korea has been on 5-3 in its most recent event, and China, because they had Chinese New Year and uh, other snags along the way, were on 5-2 the last time they played. And so um, I brought up the point that I don't think it's, this isn't as big as maybe some of the other concerns that people have raised. I think Monte Cristo mentioned specifically that um, GE came without their coach, and a lot of the players weren't really adjusted to anything new with the scenario. So there's obviously other contributing factors, but you have to look at, this is something that's completely, well, that's arguable, but within Riot's control of dealing with how it goes about sponsoring the events and setting them up, to where they could design a system in a way that the event comes out at a time where all 3 regions, or all 4 or 5, whatever the hell, how many regions there are now, but they're all on the same patch. And that way, maybe it's not a significant amount of time. You could have maybe 2 weeks or just 1 week like the NA and EU had, but at least a week worth of competitive play where they can, in their own region, develop a meta, develop strategies based on what's available, the item choices that they think they should make, the champion picks, especially. I think Spirit played Jarvan in I think all but one of their games, and Jarvan
Mm.
was recently nerfed really hard in 5-4. You lost armor
Yep.
on the E, you lost the AD on the warrior enchant, smite range, everything. So there's these decisions that you think maybe if they had more time to prepare, would they have done the same thing? Would we have seen Diana teleport mid? Would we have seen Corki played in like 60% of the games?
So, well, that begs a question to you then. I mean, do you think it was a factor? Because on the one hand, I can see what you're saying as plausible, especially with the validating evidence. That as you rightly pointed out, the picking of Jarvan when we know right now that most recent change to him has fucked him over and not really made him a top pick anymore. But on the other hand, I can't believe that professional players wouldn't be abreast of the changes that were being made in the game and wouldn't understand that actually it's probably a good idea not to pick Jarvan because any old fucking arsehole can read patch notes.
Right.
So a professional player should be able to process that information and apply it to their game. So what do you think?
Right. Then someone in the thread made that sort of argument and actually just kept spamming it until I replied to it. But he pretty much, it said he boiled it down to that League of Legends is a video game, and because of that, it boils down to numbers. And so, pro players are in the best position of anybody, except maybe I guess analysts who spend full time work doing that. But they're in the best position of anyone to realize, hey, this number is decrease in a way where it's no longer as good as this other option. So, for example, Jarvan's armor loss may be maybe setting him aside to where either you don't pick him and you pick champions like Vi and champions like Sejuani who do similar things instead, or you pick a different build. So, I mean, recently Saint Vicious tweeted out and somebody corrected him that if you go this armor attack speed build and you get the new Cinderhulk item with him, it's a lot more effective than the warrior build that he used to run.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a 5.5 innovation, I think, mostly, but it's the same deal where it took NA 2 or 3 weeks on this new patch to realize maybe this new situation is better. And so I think it's true that, in the short term, I think Spirit probably looked at the numbers and decided, you know what, it's still probably better than my other options because I'm such a good Jarvan player. And he obviously is, he carried them through up until TSM really. And so, and most of it was on the back of his Jarvan. So I think it's true on the one hand that, you know, any amount of time could be enough time, assuming you have, this infinitely smart player. But obviously, we're talking about realistic situations where, objectively speaking, having 2 or 3 weeks advantage over another team who only has maybe 1 or for China days to figure it out, there is a significant objectively, material difference there that I think people are overlooking a little bit.
So, okay, here's the final question before you move on to the second topic you want to bring to the table. I mean, given that it's real difficult. I've said this. Oh, but you hate Riot, Richard. Listen, right? What Riot have to do in terms of rolling out a fucking patch across all of these regions and trying to sort of maintain everybody playing on the same level of consistent environment for competitive play ahead of major tournaments and tournaments that they don't directly control. That is fucking hard. And I think unrealistic, actually, especially given the inherently buggy nature of the game. which is, as we know, whenever anything new is introduced, you've just got to stay back and let them fix it. There'll always be something that's broken, that doesn't work. Patch day is a bad day to play solo queue. Everybody who's experienced knows it. And until you know what the broken thing is, whether it's, whatever, I won't even give any examples, but until you know what the broken thing is and how you can exploit it, like Blade of the Ruined King back in the day, or Black Cleaver, or whatever it is, whatever the broken thing is, until you can exploit it, you shouldn't play. Now, when you're talking about competitive, that's not really an option. So I think Riot have got a difficult task ahead of them. But is there anything they can do? Like, can Riot do this better? I'm not sure they can, but I agree with you. In an ideal world, everyone would have had plenty of time on the current patch in all regions.
Right, and it's really just a balancing thing. And so, this patch or this tournament, I guess, we saw a really interesting situation that I don't think we've seen before, where one was on 5-3, one was
Mhm.
5-2, and one was 5-4.
Mm.
And so you think maybe we could roll back to 5-2 and just have everyone play that until we catch up for IEM, because Riot recognizes, okay, a big event coming up. We're partners with a lot of people involved there. It means a lot for the players specifically, which is, I guess, part of the second topic I was going to bring up. But
Mm.
there's this big thing on the horizon, sort of like what we said when the whole Gambit Visa thing happened with them getting to play in Wembley. We said Riot knew this event was coming up months in advance, or should have at least, and so they could have had the preparation and wherewithal to say, "Hey, let's get them their visas, let's get this all situated beforehand." It's the same thing here, where IEM Katowice is going to be coming up. You know that yes, you have a balancing schedule for the different regions, because some patches have to get out faster. I think 5-3 had that one, or 5-4 had the thing with the bug with Callista, or not the bug, but the attack speed thing with Callista, where she was absolutely broken, just jumping around the battlefield because of how fast her auto tech was, or how fast the auto tech animation was going down based on her attack speed. And so they toned that down because Callisto was such a problem in the West for both competitive and in solo queue. So I mean, there's going to be patches that have to be rolled out early. But when you have, you've region locked everyone into these separate situations, LPL, OGN, they all play by themselves and then occasionally meet for
Mm.
IEMs, MSI, and Worlds. That's it, really. I mean, there's other invitationals here and there, but as far as this year is concerned, that's mostly all we're going to get. And so
So
when
here,
those
sorry, go on.
So when those big events are coming up on the horizon, I think Riot has some sort of obligation. Obviously, they can't control, and I think this is what you were mentioning. They can't control a lot of what Tencent does in China and a lot of what
Mm.
goes on in Korea, but they do have, and obviously, this is we're pretending they're separate organizations and not all under the
Well,
same.
actually, my research and the stories I broke, they are pretty different organizations. Ultimately, Riot certainly do things that Tencent don't necessarily approve of. I think the LPL English stream that cropped up was actually an example of this. But anyway, so here's what I wanted to ask, because there was you know what people are like. People are fucking retarded, right? I mean, we know that for a rule. And again, by retarded, I don't mean mental illness. I just mean in general, most people aren't at the intellectual level or capacity they should be for a particular age in esports. That's just a reality. It's certainly not hate speech. It's just an appropriate use of the word. So I got to say that there was a lot of conspiracy theories abound. That people were, I did read and I did hear people saying that, oh, they gave TSM an easy bracket. It was beneficial for IEM to have TSM in the final. There wasn't a lot of opportunities for the Korean and the Asian teams to, get their shit together ahead of playing these games. They were only over there for a day. They didn't have time to acclimatize. And other people were just flat out saying, this whole debacle with the patches was a direct, that's exactly how they wanted it because it gave TSM an advantage. Now, I do not believe that. I do not believe in conspiracy theories. The towers fell at free fall speed all by themselves. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. But what do you think? Is there anything in that?
I think it was really interesting when the groups came out. I think within the hour, people figured it out that quite literally, C9 had the hardest schedule they could have possibly had, and quite literally, TSM had the easiest schedule they could have had. Um, Based on their requirements, they couldn't have two same region teams within a group, and they had to separate two IEM champions between each group. And so I wrote out sort of the situations and the effect scenarios and everything, whatever. But in the end, yeah, the TSM had sort of the easiest route. And what was then I think my favorite, I guess, conspiracy theory that I read about it was that World Elite did TSM's work by taking out all the Korean teams before they had to, and so they only had to beat CGN once, and that game was a mad life debacle. But
Yeah, it was.
you know, they it's interesting, and I think it's coincidental to point out that of all teams, TSM gets this godlike schedule, and C9 has to fight tooth and nail to get past the Yoey Flash Wolves. That game was awful too, but
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't think there's anything to it. But I do think that the the deck was stacked against the East in this tournament. Maybe not intentionally, but there were a whole lot of organizational factors that went against them being successful here.
So you had another point. I've kind of got embroiled in conspiracy theories and 9/11 imagery, so I've kind of forgotten what it was. But I'll certainly let you make it before we bring on another caller. So what was the other thing you wanted to talk about?
Sure. I wanted to talk about generally, and this I tried to call in I think last week or 2 weeks ago to talk about this, but it's this general idea that professional players, their personalities, and I think Bryce is watching me, so I don't want to screw anything up. But when you have people who are significantly famous, they get certain rights that normal people wouldn't, and one of them is right of publicity, right of privacy that is different, based on your status. And I think an interesting situation that's coming up now is that players have a whole gamut of different opportunities where they could exploit their publicity rights. They could exploit the fact that they're professional players and they're on this pedestal of gaming at the moment that's becoming this big thing. I don't know if you saw that article that Day9 put out with the writer about esports becoming the number one.
You can tell there's a fucking Star update coming out. Day9's coming back to esports. Where's the money at? Hey guys, I've been trying to get out of this shit industry for God knows how long. But what there's money again? Hey, I'm Sean Plott. I'm so enthusiastic. There's some fake crying. My parents supported me. Yeah, fuck Day9. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and so there's a whole bunch of situations coming up recently where you have pro players and they have, whether it be under copyright or it be under publicity rights, they have a bunch of rights that they're not able to use because of the way that viewers are interacting with it and the way that the industry, I guess, doesn't help facilitate that. And I think the best example was from two or 3 weeks ago, the Hearthstone player Kalento, who's widely recognized as probably one of the best in the world right now. He had this insane play that had like 12,000 different calculations where he took a guy down from 27 health to 0 with Priest, which is supposed to have no burst. Anyway, so it's a really complicated situation, and he streamed it. It came up during a stream. It wasn't like a planned thing. He turned that stream into Switch Days broadcast. He turned that into a YouTube video and uploaded it. But before he did, someone else took it and uploaded it to their own YouTube page, and so that hit front page of the Hearthstone subreddit, and everyone freaked out because Kalento, does something that a lot of players don't, which is he runs his own YouTube channel, and at that channel uploads clips of himself playing that, obviously he can monetize for ad revenue and YouTube partnership and whatnot. And so you have the situation where a lot of players don't do this. And I think the one that I've been noticing recently is with League of Legends players who have these late night hilarious streams of, CLG best of fives or CLG, ranked fives and whatever. And within minutes of shit happening, you see a YouTube video uploaded. And I was just sitting there as like the copyright nerd that I am, that Doublelift could have put that on the CLG YouTube channel and drawn probably hundreds of thousands of viewers from it. I'm sure CLG is some sort of YouTube partner. I don't know how that shit works, but I'm sure they could have monetized that. And so you're seeing the situation where, because of the way that people in general treat online rights, Imager, you can just download a picture and save it if you want. YouTube, you can download a video and save it if you want. You're not supposed to, but you can. That's how we used to get music. We used to download music right off YouTube videos. And so because of the way that we treat that, we're preventing a lot of the ways a lot of players could be monetizing their value. And I think this goes obviously all the way back to the stupidity that was Spectate Faker, where you had a player trying to exploit his own streaming rights and someone circumvented that. And Riot was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. We never had this before, and they did
Mm.
this weird band-aid fix that um, I think a lot of people disagreed with because of um, the the rhetoric behind it. The retarded stalking and whatever
Yeah.
that they pull
But
out of their ass. And
I
so
said at the time though there was a valid point somewhere in all of Merrill's fucking stroked out
mm,
gibberish. There was a kernel. It could have been planted and grown into an actual coherent idea if he just hadn't have babbled so insanely about e-stalking and bullying and made a right tit of himself, to use a British phrase. But look, here's what I think about this, and I've seen these clips. I actually hate these clips. I hate the fact that they're indulged on the fucking subreddit. I don't consider it good content at all, which isn't why they shouldn't be there. I just think they are like fat that clogs up the artery of what should be a working muscle. Cutie Pie says, huh, I'm gonna get an ace now. And then like he gets an ace, right?
it's
He gets
literally
an
half his
ace.
videos.
Yeah. And it's like it's a 30-second long video. He goes, yeah, I think I'm gonna fucking get an ace now. And it's like click, 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 click. Scar a keyboard. There's the ace. And that's the whole clip. Like, I got an eighth, and I said I get an eighth. I don't know why I'm doing a Rain Man voice because I like Cutie Pie, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Now, what is that video? I don't think it offers anything, and it's on some cunt's YouTube, and it's the only video he's gonna get gets above like 10 clicks, and he's gonna get maybe, I don't know, $10-15 off it. However, if that video was, if you issued a takedown, I don't think you could really argue with that. In fact, I've
Right.
done that. Some guy, I can't remember which show it was, but probably it's the First Blood. I think I did a rant on First Blood, or it might have been the Sky Williams roast, or whatever it was, and someone cut it out of the Twitch VOD. So they'd obviously downloaded the Twitch VOD, because the YouTube video wasn't out. They cut it and they uploaded it to their YouTube channel without even asking me if it was okay or whatever. And I messaged them and said, come on, man, I don't want to have to issue a takedown on you because I'm fundamentally against that. But that is my content, and I don't really monetize my content. We make like maybe $20, per show. And I don't do anything with that. It just sits there, but it's still my shit, right? Like,
Right.
and if people ask permission to use my shit in their shit, hey, shit. You have at it, right? We can all be bros. But just the nerve to do it. So I would challenge it. And I don't know, if I was a fucking popular streamer and I was like watching people take clips of my plays and shit like that and put it on their YouTube channel, it's like on the one hand, yeah, it's really flattering. But on the other hand, it's my fucking content. The only reason that these streamers don't complain is because it would be a fucking PR nightmare and they make too much money off streaming anyway. Like, what's that YouTube video going to get them? Let's say like, $30, $40. They're getting that per fucking donation from some like desperate wanker who wants to ask him the question, what do you think of Static Shiv? The question you've only fucking answered 500 fucking times per stream. So, if they want to pay $40 for that, why would you rock the boat? Because if I'm a Cutie Pie said, I want this guy to stop putting clips of my aces up, right? Then they would go on Reddit going, I'm just a fan of Cutie Pie and I just want to share his aces with the world. And he told me to take it down and I need that $20 for my sick mother. And then Cutie Pie's on there having to say, it was a misunderstanding. Here's a lifetime subscription to me. I'm going to send you a Dignitas hoodie. Here's a picture of my girlfriend's breasts. Like, whatever it is, just to calm the guy down because it's not worth the PR fuck up. So that's what I think about it. I think players should be like, hang on a minute, I did that. That's my shit. It should be in my channel. And end the fucking story. But anyway, apparently people are saying we've gone on too long about this. So I keep forgetting it's a call-in show. You're the important one. I will let you have some final thoughts, Noah, before we move on to another call.
No, sure. I just think it's really interesting because and I've talked to Royce about this. I'm writing a paper this semester on just general DMCA issues, and one of the ones that I'll be talking about is the spectate faker issue. Not specifically that, but about what do we do when someone files a claim and you think they're wrong, but you don't have the money to back it up? You don't, you're some kid who's just streaming on Twitch for free. Who the fuck is calling me? But so
It's Mark Merrill.
I hope it is.
You're advocating e-bullying, man. We'd never do that in our company.
I think the biggest the one that I remember most about this situation is back when Thorn was with On Gamers and back when he was doing Summoning Insight when it first started with Monte Cristo. Everyone was really into it because it was this new thing that people weren't doing at the time. And the problem was that he would record it and he would stream it live on Twitch, but well, for whatever reason, the processing would take like 2 or 3 days, and then the YouTube video would be up like days later. And people got impatient and were like, "I can do this in a day," and they would download it, upload it to their own YouTube video, or upload it, or just link directly to the Twitch saved broadcast. And Thorne would be like, "What the fuck? I need I need the traffic revenue.
Yeah.
I need the site clicks to sustain what I'm doing." On Gamers wasn't the big thing that it was before it died way back then, and he really did need, I guess, the publicity of it especially, and people were stepping on that. And I think as we're going forward, and there's this new thing with Dominate saying he has someone impersonating him or something and shit talking people, pretending it's him, but that there's these going to be new issues of how are we going to allow players to monetize aspects of the game that aren't just being a pro, because obviously looking at MYM, looking at teammates, sometimes it's not going to work, and sometimes you're going to run into shady people doing shady things, and there's got to be a something available to the players if shit hits the fan where they can fall back, like PewDiePie, like Boy have done, to where they're now professional streamers, professional YouTube personalities, for whatever that's worth.
Well,
And
maybe
so,
maybe that's a service that Riot could offer. I don't know. Maybe they could get a copyright lawyer on retainer instead of just having Mark Merrill pull shit out of his ass on Twitter about the rights and wrongs of it. That's where I stand on it. But look, anyway, Noah, it was great to get you on the show. I really got to move on and get another caller on. Two great discussions there. I'm sure everyone will agree. And if anyone wants to call in and counter Noah's point, add call.trashtalk on Skype. And Sam is standing by to take your call. Noah, thanks a lot. No doubt I will see you out there in cyberspace again. Take care, brother.
Take care, man.
So there we go. That was Noah, our opening caller. Two good points, Sam, I thought he made.
Yeah.
What did you think?
On the sort of content thing, yeah, I'd probably just take a backseat if I was someone like Kewpie. Like, is it really worth chasing that ad revenue? Like you said, is it really worth having to suck that guy off, saying, "I'm sorry that I tried to get the content, that's mine.
Yeah.
My bad."
I mean, look, this is the thing I fucking hate. This is the only thing I really hate about esports. Like I've always said, I'm a huge proponent of ad block. I see it as it's a very useful consumer choice tool. I totally stand by it. I know people use ad block on my stream. You'll never see me coming out there and being like, "Oh, guys, please." don't use the ad block. You're killing esports, like all these other fucking assholes did at the time. I didn't go down that road. But people need to realize if you like the content, you have to support the content. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. So, like, you can't really have it both ways because, 6 months from now, when you're wondering what happened to that streamer, well, he quit because he made money.
When you're wondering why First Blood isn't on for 2 weeks, maybe that's
make no money. Because he make no money. So, I'm just saying, like, look, you don't have to give a lot. I'm not saying give a. You don't have to give a lot. Like, just it's not even coming out of your pocket if you just don't disable ad block. That's all. Just for the people you like, just for the people who deserve it. Just let them bombard you with 90 seconds of Battlefield is the best thing ever. Oh wait, it's shit. Can I say that on Twitch? Anyway, fuck it. Just whatever the ad is.
There goes the Battlefield sponsorship.
Fuck, man. Just fucking watch it. It's bullshit, but just watch it. They've paid for it. Someone's getting paid off the basis of it, and just watch it. That's all you have to do. You don't even need to be in the room. Just don't have ad block on. And for some reason in esports, one of the big prevailing ideas is we want super high production value, we want awesome content, and we want it all the time, but pay for it? Nah.
Yeah, I know. It's so fucking dumb.
You crazy.
It's almost, are you trying to tell me people in mainstream sports pay for their packages? Don't be so fucking stupid.
It's like I think about how much I pay for fucking Sky Sports.
Yeah, no,
which I only watch. Yeah, I only watch when fucking Newcastle are on, and that's like having my fucking bell end stamped on by a stiletto heel, and I'm paying for the fucking privilege of that. So what the fuck? Like, why can't people in esports pony up? Not even pony up, just leave ad block on. It's just your eyes. It's just your eyes. That's it. That's the only thing that gets affected. Your eyes and maybe a little bit your brain. That's it. Fuck me. Anyway, next call. Who is it and what do they want to talk about?
All right. Next we have Toby, and he wants to talk about recent teams performance at CSGO, Katowice. And also he wants to talk about the use of POV streams, which he did a video editorial.
Oh, I did. I'm going to get fucking wrecked, aren't I? Someone's going to abuse me here. Hey, Toby,
Hello.
can you hear me?
I'm good.
Hey,
Yeah,
how
I
you
can
doing,
hear
brother? Good to get you on. Right, so where do you want to start? Which topics? Again, you've got two. Which one do you want to do first?
I think we'll start off with the actual games of ESL Katowice CSGO, and then we'll move on to some of the other talking points.
Yeah, let's do it. Hit me up then. So what did you make of it all?
I think it was a pretty good event. Like,
Hmm.
it was all, yeah, it was pretty good. Like, it was run pretty well. Not, well, there's some short breaks, but, like, there wasn't any big delays or anything, and there wasn't too many upsets.
Okay,
as a
and
whole, so,
well, I know it's not what you wanted to talk about. What did you think about the whole thing about having three casters in the final to sort of try and placate everyone's ego and also try and placate Reddit from having a meltdown?
yeah, I saw the thread on Reddit about people not being so happy that Anders wasn't cast in the final. Anders made a tweet saying that I can't remember who was meant to cast the final initially, but that was
I think
shortly.
it was D-Man and Tosspot.
Yeah, that was shortly changed after the lashback, basically. Like,
I thought it was kind of stupid though, Toby. I'll be honest with you, right? This is not going to go over particularly well, but we've all had a drink.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna say it, right? Like I think if you're doing streaming for a living and you're an employee of the company that's running an event, maybe you don't go on Twitter and go, I've lost all motivation because people said they don't like my shoutcasting, so I'm standing down from the final. Like maybe you don't do that. Like, and maybe you just do it internally. And maybe, look, here's the thing. Anders, for the longest time, I knew Anders, and I was supporting Anders when he was like the de facto only CS:GO streamer. Him and Semler used to fucking do late night games, like an Estonian team versus a Bosnian team in some bumfuck league. They at 4 a.m, they were there doing it, casting that game. They did everything, and all of the traditionalists and all of the old boys club were so snooty. They were like, we can't have them cast a final, though. We can't have them cast a final because they're just not professional. They don't have ties, so they can't do the final, right? And for the longest time, Anders didn't get to do a final until I think it was DreamHack Winter when they said, hey, you know what? Maybe we should give this guy who's casted every fucking game ever a chance. And he did it, and he knocked it out the park. And now, when Anders isn't in a final, everyone gets upset about it. Now, here's what I believe. I think the broadcaster should stand firm, and they should pick the people they want to cast the final. So ESL should just say, this is who's casting the final, make all the threads. It doesn't matter. It's our show. We know what's best. But equally, that should align with who is the best man for the job. And if you ask me who's the best man for the job right now to do CSGO, no disrespect to Tosspot, no disrespect to D-Man. I both got a lot of love for them. I go way back with both of them. But Anders beats both of them. Fact. Yeah. So he should have been the natural choice.
Yeah, I agree. I think ESL made the wrong decision to start with, but then changing it's just like even worse. It's like Anders has literally been the face of CS:GO casting since it came out, and I can understand why ESL wants their casters to cast because they pay them and they want them to have experience. But maybe you should have the best casters for the best games and use them, get them experience otherwhere, like ESL leagues and whatever tournaments you're gonna run. Like,
I absolutely agree, and I think it was a real shame that all of that drama overshadowed what had been an amazing tournament, and just having that drama over the final, like it went from like why isn't Anders casting the final to D-Man saying I'm not doing it, fuck this, I'm so demotivated, enjoy the final guys, you've got what you want. Like, he's just come over from another game. He's got to understand that, from an ego perspective, casting a final is viewed as prestigious. I've casted a few finals myself. I've been told when I've been on casting crews, you're not going to be in the final, Rich, and you just got to suck it up. And D-Man's only just come over, and I thought he did a good job considering he'd just come over. It wasn't amazing, but he did a good job. He'll get better, no doubt about it. He's going to work hard. But like Anders should have been in the final. Like just that simple. And then everyone went from being like, yay, Anders, to, oh, fuck this. D-Man's feeling sad now. It just casted an unnecessary shadow over what would have been a great event for me.
Yeah, I think ESL just made the wrong choice to start with. They could have foreseen the backlash and not having everyone's favorite caster in the final. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all it would have took. I mean, it was a bit weird. Anyway, I think like Semler not being involved anyway. It was like I don't know the ins and outs of that. Me and August haven't talked about it actually, but. Just seems really weird, and I get why ESL want to push their own employees. That's fine, but understand that there might be some impact in the eyes of the audience when you do that. That's it. You got to suck it up, and you got to say we're going to stand by our employees. You can't just chop and change. Anyway, so let's talk about the games overall. I thought they were great. Fnatic fucking won it. I mean,
I think
I thought that was kind of crazy. Nip were my pick before the tournament even played a single game.
I think Fnatic came into it clear favourites and throughout just like established their position as clear favourites. But then again, they were the first favourite to ever win a major out of 5. So it's surprising and not surprising at the same time.
What did you make of the whole? While you're here, what did you make of the whole Flusher and the cheating thing? Because for Fnatic to win this major now, does that put the cheating allegations to bed? That's
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not gonna create any hate threads about him. I'm not gonna create a witch hunt about it. But I haven't seen any like justification of all the crazy things that happened, like all the crazy clips, everything. Like especially, I think the one that sticks out to me the most is the one on Cash, where he shoots through a wall and hits him like 8 times in a row or something ridiculous. Like maybe he's not cheating now, but I think even Fifth Aaron said it in his AMA. Like, if someone put a gun to his head, he probably would have said he's cheating.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But I mean, I think there's no doubt for me, Fnatic were the best team at the tournament and deserved the win. I saw lots of people getting really upset about Fnatic's use of the Tech 9. I consider that really stupid. Available for all teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, MVS did the exact LDLC at the time did the exact same thing in DreamHack Winter. It's just like it's just like a meta game. It's just equivalent in League of Legends is using the best champions. It's like it's the same thing. Use the best things at the time and abuse it the best.
Yeah, exactly. So you wanted to talk as well about the POV streams, and I did a video about this, and I said I hope they're not in future tournaments because I think it adds an extra layer of pressure on players, and it's all fun and games now. But when a player accidentally drops an N bomb on stream, we're gonna have problems. What are your thoughts?
I don't think they're inherently wrong, but like, I think you're right. The community can't handle it. Like either way, like the community is extreme to extreme. It's like either this player's amazing because he's hilariously funny, or this player's terrible because he said something derogatory about their opponent. Like, I don't. They're really fun to watch and listen to, and I think they can be used, but they create all kinds of problems when it comes to what players say. And I'll watch your video, so I don't want to repeat too many points.
Hey, feel free to repeat it. I guarantee all the people watching now didn't watch it, so feel free.
So, like, you don't want the players to be thinking about what they're saying rather than what they're doing in game. And if it got to that point, then obviously you would just have to get rid of them. You also don't want. I mean, it should really be up to the teams whether they want their comms streamed, like whether they want to give away any tactics they have or anything like that. Like, I'm not sure if the teams were consulted beforehand, but
yeah. I think I agree with the direction you're going in. I mean, look, what I probably didn't make clear in my video is I have no problem if the players opt into it.
Yeah.
If the players say, look, if you want to do this, fine. If I was managing that team, I would say to them, don't opt in. I wouldn't want it. I think it's just a minefield. But, each to their own. So if they want to opt into it and have that level of scrutiny, that's fine. But I think it being a requirement to enter that this is going to happen. We're going to run your comms on a separate stream as the default in a tournament. I don't like that at all, and I think we should be very, very careful about moving into that territory because we're literally creating a potential powder keg of drama. And like people are like, "Oh, but Richard, you love drama." Yeah, I do. I get to write about it. It's good for me, but I'm still arguing against it because I wouldn't want the tournament organizers who do have almost like a duty of care to the people who enter their tournaments to effectively set the players up for a fall that could really impact on them outside the context of that tournament. You know, Shock's already had to come out and apologize for saying mean things about Na'Vi on Twitter. It's like, guys, what the fuck? What else do you say during a game? Like when you're playing and you want to beat someone, oh, these guys are fucking shit. Yeah, of course you say that. It's insane that, you know, it's ridiculous.
I don't see a solution to the problem of the community lashback. Like the community, like without some exceedingly long amount of time, the community is gonna stay the same. I guess you could like add a disclaimer to the stream. I don't know, like to say like these players can say what they want. I don't know what they can say.
But again, that's the point. Like, so okay, let's say that disclaimer's in place. How far is too far? You know, we've already had. I mean, let's think of the linguistic scandals we've had. Obviously, the N word is off limits, and I agree with that. I don't really use it myself. It doesn't occur to me. I can't see an argument for that word to be
like,
used in any
hypothetically,
context.
Spawn comes back to CSGO. Is he allowed to say the N word?
Well, again, I mean, probably not. Not the way esports is, but I suppose it does. You know, I don't. Again, it's you're asking the wrong guy. Like I can't make that rule. I can't say, well, words that are in your lexicon and apparently you're pre-racially approved to use, all of it. You can't. It's not up to me. It's not up to me.
Gray area.
But you know, I think in general, I think as a general rule, like because that word was always used especially to sort of dehumanize people based on race and it had no other context, I don't like it. I personally don't like it. I don't really use it as a result, you know, unless we're talking about it. Even now I get squeamish and I use the N word, which is a really weak and pathetic thing to do. I should say the word, but I don't. I feel that conscious about it. Other words though, you know, there's you know, StarCraft streamers that use the word gook, which is obviously a racist term. You know, that people sometimes get up in arms about that. Sometimes it's funny. Some are allowed, some aren't. You know, and then rape. If you're going to rape somebody in a game, you know, we've had that recently. You can't say that. That's wrong. So these terms, whether we want to admit it or not, whether it's right or wrong, and I'm not judging the right or wrongs of the words themselves or their usages or their contexts, people use these words in gaming. And people from different cultural backgrounds have a different take on what each of these words mean and how appropriate they are and how offensive they are. Now, it is only a matter of time before a player in a CSGO game drops one of these words and we're all sat around pontificating about what the punishment should be. Should they be kicked out of the tournament? Should they have rounds taken off them? Should they have to replay the game? Should they forfeit prize money? And then after that, if nothing happens, you know you've got some guy who watched it going, I'm going to write to your sponsor. So then all of a sudden he comes out of the tournament and it's like, did you know that this player used the word faggot during a game? As a faggot myself, I am greatly offended by this. And I want him to, you know, have all of it, to never be able to work in esports again. That's how it works. All right. Now, these words, we can argue about the rights and wrongs of them, but the point is people use them and they use them in contexts where they believe it's private. And if it's ever entered your brain, if you've ever said the word once, there's a chance you might say it again when you're in the heat of the moment. That's what I'm worried about. I don't want a player lose everything during a tournament because of something that's said in the heat of the moment, which isn't representative of their political beliefs. It's not representative of their views. It's completely different to typing something up on Twitter, typing out a long post on Reddit. This is in the heat of the moment during a game, and that's why I think it should be private.
Yeah, the more you talk about it, the more it makes sense to just not have it. But it's a shame we won't have it. So there'll always be people pining for it.
Absolutely. Well, look, Toby, I'm going to try and fit one more caller in before half time.
Right.
It was great. It was great. You're a new caller, aren't you? I don't think
Mhm.
I've ever spoken to you. So you did. You
Yep.
did great. I hope you'll call in again sometime. Really appreciate you bringing up some CS:GO.
That's right.
No
I'm
worries,
leaving.
man. All right. Yeah, you too. Take care. I like that, Sam. He was really nonchalant at the end. I was like, "Yeah, you did great. Thanks for calling."
Yeah,
He went,
no.
and he just nodded and went, "Yeah, it's all right.
Right.
It's all right, mate." So. I just want to point out, and a few things I thought, because I don't think it really came across during the call as a whole. I think Katowice was, a great event. ESL have done it again. Record numbers in CSGO. So many good things to talk about. The League of Legends tournament actually had a TSM victory, which we're all super happy about. The StarCraft event was, great.
Look at you pretending like you watch StarCraft.
There wasn't room. I never watch StarCraft. Everyone knows it. I
Yeah,
don't
I
watch the
don't
games
either.
unless I'm working the event. My trick is when I'm working an event, I just Apollo, Sean, yeah. Woo. Well, so
Tell
what's
me about
happened in the
this
last?
Zerg shit.
What's that? Yeah, what's happened in the last 6 months? Protoss. That's it. Like that's how I roll. But I think all told, great event, real high watermark for ESL, and it's great that it was in Katowice again, where I think the first event it was a bit of a gamble,
Yeah.
So hats off to them. But there were a few things, look, no event's going to be perfect. It's my job to kind of nitpick. I'm sure the callers feel the same way as well. But we're going to do one more call, Sam. Apparently, you've got something good for me. What the fuck? Come on.
We have. I don't really know what he wants to talk about, but it's Gravity's Analyst, and he wants to shed some light on the NALCS coaches and his experience with Scara, Loco, and LS.
Right, have we actually verified that this is Gravity's Analyst, by the way? Or are we getting trolled? Kind of.
I've spoken to the guy before. I've verified.
So it's Frankie, is it Francis?
Yeah, Frankie's fine.
Is Frankie alright? Do you prefer Frankie? I like
Yeah,
Frankie.
Frankie's good for me. Are we live right now?
boy.
We live right now?
Yeah, whoa, believe we're live, brother.
All right, sweet.
So, I gotta say, I'm fucking intrigued right now, because I spoke to Soldra, after the whole thing with Gravity and whatnot. So
Yeah.
let's get your take on it. So first of all, let's start with the whole NA thing. You've obviously been an analyst. I'm guessing you're a very good one. if
Somewhat,
you're
yeah.
in LCS. So
Shit.
tell me your thoughts about NA.
My thoughts about NA. So, really, what we've done in the past when we're trying to think about NA is we've tried to compare them to other scenes. In season 1, NA was the dominant scene because obviously Korea didn't really have servers. Yeah, it's odd because we've just had NA, come first in I put in air quotes a world a world tournament, which because IEM isn't really anything to go by. What we really want to look at is worlds, and we've had the #1 Korean team being beaten out by one of the worst teams in China. So right now, I'm really not sure as to the state of NA. They look to be improving, the entire West does, but I'm not really entirely sure right now. I don't think we've seen enough. I'm sorry. I don't think we've really seen enough from them on an international stage to see where they stand.
So okay, well let's. I agree with that. Like I don't think an IEM in isolation means anything. I mean, if we rewind to the previous IEM, TSM are dog shit 'cause they lost to Unicorns of Love, right?
Exactly.
What I said just the other day on the loadout when I was talking about it was the reason these tournaments are great and the reason people want to see so many of them is that the contrasting styles. The differences in preparation, the fact that no one's really going in and at 100% because of travel and everything else, and you try and find a neutral venue, but it isn't. This is what makes it exciting and interesting. You don't really know how it's going to go.
Yeah, honestly, I honestly think the biggest difference between NA and the rest of the world is just the infrastructure and the preparation and what goes in behind it. And one of the Okay. So sorry. I go by Stout. I'm Francis Headley. I do a bit of esports journalism, and I've also done a bit of analysis for Gravity Gaming. So that's just to explain and give, hopefully try and give myself a bit of credibility.
Stout's a good name. I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
I approve.
Right now, I'm just drinking a Murphy's Draft Stout, But
well, it is Paddy Day, so
honestly, I've been. when I initially tried to get into esports, I was really positive because I was always, a pretty big TSM fan. I believed in the West. And, with all these imported Koreans, I thought that, the West had a really strong chance. And I've just been so constantly disappointed by just the state of how the NA scene, like, okay, so Curse Gaming, Team Liquid, Gravity Gaming, whatever. The biggest step that they took, which I think was one of the best things to happen to NA, is they started practicing outside of where they lived. And that's what Korean teams do, that's what Western teams do. That's important. And they have serious coaches who do serious things. And I honestly think that the West lacks any serious type of coaching. I am just constantly disappointed in it.
Mm. Why is that then? Because just interestingly enough, while you're talking here, I've got Last Shadow LS messaging me going, this guy doesn't represent Gravity. He's lying. This is going to be awful. This is bad PR. Why would he be saying that, Frankie?
Okay.
Because I take people as I find them. I want to believe you.
Yeah, no, like I wouldn't lie to you. But
I can tell.
There's been a lot of situations in the Gravity Gaming House that, to be honest, I wouldn't consider them acceptable standards for what's been going on in for the standard that we should have. If we want to be if the West wants to be taken as a serious thing, then we can't have this going on. We can't have some of the situations that people are getting themselves into.
What are the situations, Frankie? Come on, give me the fucking meat and drink of the situation.
There have been multiple times. Well, I've been told by my sources that there have been multiple times where Saint Vicious has had to leave the room because of how frustrated he has become.
Okay, so hang on. But you're a representative of Gravity, right?
I'm not a representative of Gravity Gaming, no.
But you've done analysis for them.
I'm an independent kind of esports. I've done some analysis. I've written a few articles. It's not. I don't represent Gravity Gaming. I'm not paid by Gravity Gaming. No.
Okay, so with that in mind, would you say people should take this with a pinch of salt, or are you like hand on fucking heart?
No, hand on heart.
Okay,
hand on heart.
Now, look, I spoke to Soldier, and I without throwing him under the bus, he said he didn't necessarily enjoy it, and that if he could rewind and go back in time, he would enter a team where people respected him to begin with, rather than him try and establish respect within a environment, within a landscape that already had been established. And I know. From, I'm the same. I got sources. People listen to me. Saint Vicious is the king of that particular hill, right?
Yeah. Okay. So when we look at Gravity Gaming, we have to take. Okay. So Saint Vicious is a veteran. He's very strong-willed. He has his own opinion on the game, and to be honest, he seems like as a personality he would fit the coaching role. Obviously, we've seen that when he, left, stopped playing professionally, and he's now come back, obviously, and. What I keep constantly hearing is how stressful an environment it is, because obviously you have people like LS who are, how do I put this in a polite way? He's very certain of his own, he very much believes that his way to play the game is completely correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that can breed some really unhealthy, because the thing you hear him talk about a lot is the whole, in Korea you have the coaches and they ask a player to do something and the player does it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just causes so much tension when you get a coach who has that kind of mentality come over to the West and try and fix something which isn't broken in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so there have been a lot of other minor issues. They aren't necessarily to do with the game, so to speak.
Yeah, they're outside of the game, I imagine, for the most part, right? It's a dynamic issue.
Oh,
yeah, or no?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a dynamic issue. Like the whole LS Saint Vicious thing, it just doesn't work. It honestly just doesn't work, and we've seen it in Gravity's performance. Like you get when Gravity did the whole when they picked Victor, it was very very clear that LS came into that with the whole the best team in Korea is doing it, so why can't we? And it's just such a flawed kind of logic, and it's almost harmful towards the scene. Just this kind of damaging sort of Korea's doing it, so should we? Sort of mentality, in terms of champion picks. It forces people onto uncomfortable champions, which they're not practiced on, simply because the coach thinks that because Korea's playing it, it's OP.
But this is interesting because Saint actually said on numerous occasions that he's never come across a coach or an analyst or anyone that he considers worth their salt at all.
Exactly, and that's what I'm getting at. Saint has that kind of mentality towards it. Saint very much, well, from what I'm aware, he very much believes that players know a significant amount about the game more than coaches, especially in the West. I'm not sure about Korea because I don't particularly know all that much about Korea.
Well, do you think that's true?
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. I feel like
I don't know. I think, you know, when you look at like football, you know, and you see a guy like Mourinho,
yeah,
who didn't play competitively football, certainly not at a professional level, and he's probably the best manager in the world right now. You know, while I respect
yeah,
what competition brings to the table, like I think,
yeah.
you know, sometimes it's not the be all and end all. If you've got the right kind of mind and the right kind of personality, I think
Yeah,
you can.
I'm sure that's very true, and I'm sure that there are some really good coaches out there who definitely improve their team. I know a few of them, but
Mm.
I just feel that right now in the Western scene, a lot of the coaches tend to just be there just so that you can say you have a coach. I don't mean to rag on Skara. I love the guy to bits, but I honestly can't see what the guy brings to the table.
Well, I mean,
You know,
I guess the counter argument to that, Frankie, would be you wouldn't be able to see what he brings to the table because obviously you're not in the CLG camp day in day out, and maybe
no,
he does
of
do
course not.
stuff, you know. And
Of
it's the
course,
same as,
that's just my personal opinion. That's not me. Don't take that as right. That's
so
just from what I've heard.
why? Yeah, no, that's fine. Why do you think that? Again, elaborate. I'm not. Look, man, I don't
I
give
don't
a
know.
fuck.
It just seems like okay. So if we take a look at a few splits ago, when having a coach wasn't particularly when having a coach wasn't particularly an average thing to have. You had a few here and there, maybe an analyst or two, but you didn't have an immediate coach who like was the face of the team almost. Like Scar is such a big part in CLG's what's the term? He's kind of he's not so much a face, but he sort of represents the team of CLG now. In the same way he represented, Dignitas back when he was, but now he's a coach. You think of Gravity, there's LS. You think of Copenhagen Wolves, you think of Dentist. There are all these coaches, and but I don't particularly see a change in the scene. You don't particularly see anyone playing any better. You just see coaches now. And the thing is, you would expect that if you had a team with no coaches before, and then you suddenly bring in a coach, you would expect a really dramatic change in their gameplay because you have someone completely devoted, almost 24 hours a day, to someone mentioned Loco Doco. I actually think Loco Doco is a pretty decent coach. But you have someone who's 24 hours a day, there with the team, trying to make sure that they can be the best that they can be. But in a lot of teams, we haven't seen any change. We haven't seen anything really change. Obviously, the entire scene as a whole has gotten better because, the longer we play League of Legends and the longer we have a competitive scene, overall, people are going to get better. But you don't see coaches having that dramatic effect. And it seems like they just bring, at least in some instances, a very unhealthy dynamic into the camp because a lot of players are very headstrong. Because you have to understand.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I definitely do. And, I agree that some of the senior players aren't necessarily going to warm to being told what to do. But just to offer some counterpoint, I think, first of all, the idea of a coach having a dramatic change, I mean, I think that's very unrealistic. I think for the most part, you're going to see gradual change. And if you can measure that gradual change, that's good. As someone that's done sports coaching myself, I don't expect instant results. Like when I took over managing a team, while I want to measure improvement, I know it's not going to be, hey, you've took over this shit rugby team that they win one game a season against the other shit rugby team in the league, and now you're going to win every game. It's not. You've got to chart your performance and measure it. And the other thing, of course, is let's be honest about why coaching has been brought in as a requirement. It's not because Riot want to develop talent or make the orgs more respectable or anything like that. It's just another element of control. What they didn't want were organizations being able to go off book and basically recruit people they didn't approve of and have them associated with the teams. We saw this with the Incarnation situation at SK Gaming. So what do? You pony up a bit more money to have that element of control. So those guys on the stage, for the most part, for me, they're just props. That's what they are. I'm sure some will get pissed off about that, but
I very much agree with what you're saying. But then we have to. Then my question would be why LS? Why LS? He's such a polarizing, and he's a lot of people really like him, and a lot of people severely.
I think most people think Nick's the best coach. I've heard that said about him many times.
I highly disagree. I mean, to be honest,
tell me why.
Well, he should be coaching Magic the Gathering because that's all he seems to do when he's playing League. Like, if you've ever seen the guy coach and you've ever like had a conversation with the guy like I have, you know, and tried to go through a game, he doesn't seem to understand that when you try and explain a game, you can't just use other games. It doesn't work like that. You know, I have sat down and listened to the guy talk about Magic the Gathering for half an hour, and sorry the chat, and you know, you learn nothing from it. You learn nothing. What he does is he just pretends he knows what he's talking about. Sorry the chat. You know, he walks around flapping his gums about, you know, how, oh, I was Diamond 1 in Korea and I was in all these StarCraft houses. You know, good for you. Who gives a shit? The only reason that he was hired onto Super Hot Royal Club was because he was friends with Corey. Everyone knows that. Do you want to know what happened with Super Hot Royal Club? Do you want to know what happened with Super Hot Royal Club? Sorry, Star sorry, Super Hot Crew. No.
Yeah, you know, go on.
Yeah.
I am listening.
He did not get on with any member of that team besides Corey. And
No,
they,
but do you
they
need
got
to?
rid of him. They got rid of him before playoffs because they would rather lose their spot at Worlds than work with him.
Well,
I have heard lots of stories about how he works within the house. I have heard some very things that I probably shouldn't even say here, but still.
okay. Well, I don't necessarily want you to say them, but feel free if you want to. Right. So just as a quick point, like, understand the predicament I'm in. I believe in the right to free assembly, the right to free speech. This is an open platform. I want you to come on and express your opinion. And generally, this is a say anything zone. It's a no spin zone. But I've got Nick, who I've known many years, telling me that you've actually never done anything for Gravity. I got the Gravity manager Jake, but I got the Gravity manager Jake saying you've never done anything for Gravity, like literally nothing. So
I'm coming on here and I'm actively telling, like, I really just
okay. So I'm gonna ask you, Frankie. And it won't affect our relationship, I promise. All right, I'm gonna ask you: are they telling me the truth? Because I kind of
hand on heart. I swear.
No. Are they telling me the truth? Because they're saying you've done nothing.
No, of course they're not. Look, what
did you do, Frankie?
So look at their stance. Okay, so
but before we get into that, can you detail what you did?
What do you mean? What I did?
What you did for Gravity?
I did some brunt work analyzing.
Yeah, so
I talked a bit to some of the players. You know, I had a few conversations with LS. I didn't do anything major. I wasn't exactly like in the house.
That sounds like you had Skype conversations to me.
Yeah, I'm a European.
What analysis did you do?
Like breaking down VODs, pretty much. Not VODs.
So you could unequivocally prove that you have broken down VODs for Gravity, and they have seen these VODs.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Continue.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, sorry, I'm kind of forgetting where we were a minute ago.
Well, you were kind of flirting with putting me into the territory of possible slander, but let's just pull back.
Okay, so let me.
Because you did have an overarching point. It wasn't just about Gravity. See, the vibe I'm getting, Frankie, the vibe I'm getting is that, I don't know, Gravity didn't pick you up, maybe, and you're a little bit pissed off about that.
No.
Hey, and there'd be nothing wrong with that, man. It's Paddy's Day. Like I said, we've all had a drink. We're all having fun. But, you know, if you want to make a point about NA in general and coaching methods in general, I think we should absolutely.
Sorry, you cut off there a little bit for me.
Well, yeah, it's probably. I think Sam just hung himself. But what I was saying was, that if you want to make if you want to use Gravity as an example to make an overarching point about the NA region, then absolutely do that. But, you know, we can't just focus on Gravity the entire time, and I don't think you want to. I think you do want to make a bigger and better point.
Hold on a second. Okay, so to be honest, the reason I'm doing this is because I just feel like NA is a bit of a farce in terms of scene. I feel it's a complete farce. They don't seem at all serious about the game in the way that Korea is, in the way that China is, and to some extent the way that Europe is. You see players like Forgiven, and he is clearly very serious about the game. And if you ever talk to him, it's clearly not very much about the money or how many Twitter followers he has. He just wants to play the game. He just wants to play the game and be really good. And you see that with a lot of Koreans. You know, you've probably heard Monte Cristo explain that a lot of Koreans, they're very poor. A lot of the Korean players, they're not very rich people. You know, they're people who come from lower income households, and they go into PC bungs because because it's very cheap. It's a very cheap way to pass the time. And in America, it's like, you know, I'm going to spend 5 hours a day, on Twitter, taking pictures, streaming my 1v1s with Hi, I'm Ghosty, and it's absolutely useless. And NA is just a complete shithole of a scene. It's a
So
complete and and then bringing in this like Korean element, like, oh, we've got a few new Korean imports and we won IEM. It's like, wow, you're still a completely shit team. Yeah, shit region. No one no one cares at this point. It's
okay. So here's an interesting question for you. On the basis of what you're saying, what would you bring to the table? Like, what would
what
you
I
do
bring.
differently?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay,
So let's say. I mean, you've said some fairly disparaging things about
I am by
coaches.
no means that saying that I am a good coach or that I could provide anything better. That I'm not saying that.
Someone just said you went 0 for 8 against the Gold Ari. That isn't true. Is it?
No, of course it's
Can
not
confirm.
true.
Can confirm.
Shut up, man. Come on.
Because I'm just saying, you talk a big game. I reckon you could probably beat a goal player. You must be able to, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't see what the point.
Okay, no. Well, you should see the point. I think because you were just earlier. Your point was that good players know more about the game than coaches, and I was offering a counterpoint. Now we're talking about why you might be a good coach, but we're illustrating how you're struggling to beat goal players. That's why it's relevant.
Okay, no. So I'm by no means a good coach or a great player. I just do a bit of analysis and a little bit of esports journalism, and I know some people inside the scene. I'm not some kind of I'm not someone who's coming in here and saying, "Oh, please hire me. I'd do this better." No, by no means. But by no means am I saying that.
Well, that's fine. But so let's say you're not the solution. What is the solution?
Honestly, I on a completely whole level, I don't think there really is a solution. It's wait, are we talking a solution to what? Like solution to NA sucking as a scene?
Yeah. So because it seems to me what you're saying is NA's naivety is that we bring Koreans and it'll fix all the problems. And you're saying they're beholden to Koreans, they're beholden to coaches that have gone out to Korea and proven themselves to be good, and then they get jobs over here. But so
okay, so
what should they be doing instead?
Well, okay, so honestly, I feel like the cultural difference is just the issue. Like people have said it before, the cultural difference is the biggest issue. It's not really a case like if they had that kind of not so much culture, but the kind of the motivation and the infrastructure there. Yeah, sure, but I don't think it's ever going to get to that point. I honestly don't think it's ever going to get to that point. I think it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that is. It's like in the Olympics. The Russians are significantly better at weightlifting, or to some extent, the blacks are significantly better at sprinting. It just seems like one of those things. For some reason, like the culture. And yes, I have just said that.
Just said that.
The problem with call-ins. Look, Stout. Hold
on a sec. One last thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to get this out of the way because I'm probably never going to ever be talked to by Gravity Gaming again. First things first.
I would understand that at this point. Go on.
Can I plug myself at all?
I wish you plugged your mouth, but yeah, go on. Plug
right,
yourself.
You've got a disease.
First of all, follow me on Twitter at It's Stout. That's ITSSDOUT.
This is happening. This is actually
Hold
happening.
on. Second of all, one last meme for Wonder Game.
Yeah, okay. Have a good night. No. I think we're done there. Have a good night. It was great talking to you, Frankie. All the best. What the fuck just happened?
What a fucking joke of a fucking show. I just want to end the fucking show. Just call it off.
Just call it off. I don't even really know what his point was. Sam, did you get a point in that?
No. All I got was screenshots of chat logs from LS when this guy was talking to him, and apparently he was asking LS for coaching because he was bronze 3. Because LS didn't reply, he just got a bit mad. And then he said, "What kind of guy are you into?" And then LS replies, "Korean, Hong Kong, Chinese, Hispanics." And then he said, "So no whites." And then he said, "No." So he said, "So not even like casually." And then LS just goes, "No."
So, what, like sex?
I guess so. He said, "Will you trade dick pics for coaching?" Just kidding, but legit question though. What kind of guy are you into? Like, I'm a tall
I,
guy.
Sam, I can't help but feel you could have brought up the fact he was offering dick pics for coach a little bit sooner in the.
I just wanted to leave it roll, man.
What's really funny is he's just plugged his Twitter.
If you want to get dick pics for coaching,
If you think dick pics for coaching is cool, just tweet at him.
should we just bring Nick on for a second or not?
No, come on, we should leave it till tomorrow, dude. Like he's gonna be on first. Like I love Nick, like, but he shouldn't want to be associated with this. I'm doing this to come on tomorrow and say something about it when he's chill.
Dang.
So, but yeah, what the fuck what just happened? Like, I just, man, look, the thing is, we've done really well on this show. We've never really been trolled. We had that guy who said Doran's dick was magnificent back in the day, but for the most part, we've been pretty. It's been pretty cool, right? So that's probably the all-time low for the show.
Fucking.
Yeah. But the thing is, I gotta say, I think Frankie had just had a drink. I think he just had a drink. He was just
wanted
upset
to send
about
a dick picture. He didn't have $80 for coaching. He tried to fucking wiggle his way through with a dick pic. Didn't happen.
We've all tried to wriggle our way through with a dick pic. One time, okay, so I was getting a supersize Big Mac meal in McDonald's, and I went to pay, and I'd just come back from a European event, and I had no money in my wallet. I only had foreign currency, and I just looked at the guy. I think his name was Daniel or something.
Unzip.
He had 2 stars. He said, "Can I buy this meal with a dick pic?"
Oh, you
And
just
he said, "What angle is it taken from?"
Has he got face in it?
And I said, "Well, I've actually got 2 dick pics. I got one from the top, which has got a bit of belly in it, but it's actually pointing upwards. In fact, if you look from the top, it just looks like there's a hole and a purple circle around it. It's pretty interesting." And then I said, "But I've also got one from the bottom, which has got the beanbag in, the throbbing brain, and a big veiny shaft." Said, that'll actually do it. That'll do nicely, sir. And I got that meal.
And yes, you change.
And I ate that meal whilst crying.
While picking up the pennies that were thrown for me.
Yeah, we should really cancel this show. we should just cancel it. Dick talk. Call Dick talk on Skype. I think we'll go for a break there. I think it's gone too far. Maybe we come back after the break. Maybe we don't. Thanks to all the subs. Thanks to all the people who've been watching so far. I don't know which way this is going to go. Maybe we see you in 5 minutes. Maybe Twitch ban me. See you in a bit. Maybe. Possibly. Hello and welcome back to Trash Talk. We're currently talking to our legal team about the Frankie call. We don't know if we'll include it on the VOD, but we saw it. That's the main thing, right? Holy fucking shit, that was crazy. Hello and welcome back to Trash Talk. Just insane. Sam, I ask you again, what was Frankie really talking about?
I don't even know. It was funny. He was worth it.
I'm sweating cobs after that. Honestly, like we should probably go on and do a show, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Anyone still watching? Anyone still calling in, or should we just go home for the night?
Next, we have Ali. I guess Ali.
Which is it?
Ali also, right? I'm just trying to think of the way to bring it
Is
down.
Alia back from the dead to play a song? Or
Basically, you broke a story of Dexter roster change, clashed with the Score's release. Score didn't credit him. Something about reporting. They asked for proof. He provides proof. They don't care. Something like that.
Okay.
Balls deep.
Fucking. Well, it wouldn't be an episode of Trash Talk if we didn't have a journalist come on and sort of moan about about the work of journalism. I love it. I indulge it. I do it all the time. So, Ali, can you hear me?
Hey Richard, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So let me get this straight. Dexter's joined Elements. We think is a sub. Okay. You broke that story on Twitter, right?
I actually tweeted about it before anyone announced the story, before any report was written about it. So, and while I was like compiling the report for the story itself, I ended up seeing that there was an announcement about it by Someone Is In, and it was on Reddit, of course, and like literally 10 minutes later, I had already also published my article about it. Now, my issue with the thing is that afterwards, I mean, they published the story as a rumor, which is completely normal. When I published it, I mentioned that it was. I mean, I confirmed it. Like I had asked some people, and I was willing to risk my reputation if this was not true. So let's say like an hour later, there's this article from the Score Esports, and they basically announced the same news, except they add this message from the Elements manager owner, and they said that the story was first reported by Someone Is In. So I approached them about this because my issue with it was that it was my story, and I was still like I recently got involved in esports. Like I started esports journalism a month ago, and obviously I was building up contacts in that time. And for me, this was like the first time I got the scoop on a story that was like an LCS roster change story before it was official. So for me, it was like, wow, okay, this is great for me, and I don't expect people to like credit me for that or something, but obviously when they credit another site for it, it's problematic. So I approached them about this, and we had a very amusing discussion actually, because they dismissed everything I said based on the argument that the fact that I tweeted it before anyone else mentioned it, before anyone else wrote a report about it, before anyone else said anything on the matter, is invalid. They said it's invalid. It doesn't matter that I tweeted it, and they're not going to change whatever they said. So we ended up arguing on Reddit about it.
Oh, okay. Well, look, dude. You know me. I'm always trying to do my bit to fucking promote up and coming journalists. I think the scene needs more of us. I think it's great to see so many people having a passion for that particular field. But I have to say, all right, and this is just me to you, not for the benefit of anyone that's watching the show. That even it can happen to even the best of us. It's happened to me. Sometimes we know shit and we tweet shit or we say shit to people, and then we effectively, get scooped on the story. Somebody puts it out there first, and you lose the traffic. This happened to me recently, I think, with Wicked stepping down from Elements temporarily. I knew that. I had it on the day. I was reaching out to sources and trying to get people to confirm, and I probably wasn't as quick as I should have been. And I think Nilu got it out there literally 15, 20 seconds before I did.
It was
His
the
threat,
same. It was the same guy that wrote the article that
because Nilu is a good reporter and has impeccable sources. I mean, seriously, this guy's good. People should give him a lot of love. Now, the problem is if it's like Ricky Bobby, right? It's like Talladega Nights. If you ain't first, you're last, because something's only news when you're hearing it for the first time. And sure, how many Twitter followers do you have, Ali?
Well, actually, in regards to my Twitter followers, I have like 26,000 or something. But like, essentially, if we're going to talk about this, and actually, I'm glad you brought this up because with the amount of people who are watching the show, and I'm aware that there has been talks about me behind my back, and obviously, for me to get involved in esports, it's actually something I would love to clear up for people. In regards to my Twitter followership, I used to do gaming in another game a while ago, and like essentially half of those followers they were actually botted. So like I have an inflated follower number, which everyone I talk to is already aware of. But like in the last 2 or 3 months, I had gained a decent followership from people who are involved in esports, and I hope
Oh,
to keep that up too.
but that's all fine. The point I was illustrating is that I don't even have a huge Twitter following. 22,000, 22,500.
Yeah,
It's not really a great deal, and therefore I would argue you would need to have a substantial amount of followers to be able to say, well, actually, my Twitter is a source of news. Sir Scoots often jokes that he has the Sir Scoots News Network, but actually he has so many followers that when he tweets something, it does actually become news. So if he does his due diligence, make sure it's true, tweets it, people seize upon it, it ends up on Reddit. That's how he gets the credit. You unfortunately, you're not in that position right now. So here's what I would say is that while look, man, I'd love to rip on the score. I think the aggressive advertising at IEM was frankly embarrassing. I think the idea that they're like thinking of themselves as actually the pinnacle of esports journalism. I mean, you think Slasher would learn about this? He tried it on gamers. He fucked over actual good reporters. Now he's doing it again at the score. It's just embarrassing. These guys need to go a long way to prove themselves in my eyes. And I do consider myself an authority on this particular topic. But that said, they were the first to, they did report on it. Someone is reported on it. Yes, it was all rumors. You confirmed it. But this is why you got to get in first, man. You got to get your blows in first. Otherwise, people are going to be able to say, well, he might have confirmed it, but we mentioned it might be a possibility first. Like your argument, as it sounds to me, is, well, I tweeted it, then they said it was a rumor, therefore I should be credited with that. But actually, if you'd had some testicular fortitude and reported, if you had confidence in your sources and reported it as fact first, then they would have been fucked, right? They wouldn't have been
yeah, I
able to
agree.
turn around and say anything
I
to you.
agree with
So
you. I
I think
agree.
this is a brutal lesson in a lot of ways. And like, don't get me wrong,
It is. It is, and you're right.
I sympathize. I sympathize. I've been in this situation myself, but I think if anything, this is part of the learning curve all journalists are going to have to go through: the need for expediency.
But I just want to clarify one thing. I didn't really come here to complain or about the matter. No, I actually wanted to bring up the discussion of whether someone who uh, is like, I'd like to think of myself as a journalist, or like that's what I essentially do at the time. And
I
I want
think
to know
it's
if someone tweets something
Hmm.
before he actually writes out a report about it, does that count as reporting, or does that not count as reporting? Like that, it's that is the question that I'm trying to raise here. You know, like just because
Well,
it's not in the format, not in a professional format, doesn't mean that that person didn't really report it. Or what do you think?
so here's what I think. I think that if you were a celebrity or a person of interest, however you want to label it, and you tweet something out, and then people start reporting coincidentally after what you tweet, then you've got an argument. You're like, well, I'm the source of the story, but the reality is, and all due respect to you, Ali, I like you. You seem a nice guy, but you're not a person of interest. You know, you're not a celebrity. You don't hold this status within the community where your tweets are going to be seized upon and held as like, oh well, if Ali says it, then it must be true, right? So
Mhm.
at the very best,
It was true. It was true.
yeah, but of
That is,
course it was. But no one's gonna
yeah,
assume it's true based on you saying it. That's the
yeah,
point.
and that's not what I'm asking either. You know, they publish an article after it turns out that I was right about it, and actually when they know they knew this, you know, and all I ask is that they don't mislead their leaders by claiming that someone is in were the ones who did it. I didn't want credit for it. You know, I didn't just go there and tell them, oh, please try to write in your article that Ali got the scoop first. No, that's not what I asked. You know, it's just
Yeah,
about
no, no,
that
I
they
know that.
mislead their leader.
I know that, dude. I know that, dude. But you got to understand what I'm saying here, right? Like, so you might have known about it first. You might have been in a position to report about it first. You tweeted at it first. But holy shit, man! Like, as I said, unless you're a very special individual indeed, I don't think 140 characters should be. I don't think that should be the benchmark for journalism. I think
Yeah, I
it's
agree
real
with you. I
easy.
agree with you.
Look, I know so much shit, dude. I could go on Twitter right now and I could probably break like 8 fucking stories. The reason I don't do that, the reason I don't want to do Twitter journalism is because, well, first of all, I think, look, I honestly do believe that the reader should believe a journalist. When a journalist says something and it's in print and it's on a publication, I think for the most part, you should believe the journalist. You should believe they've done their due diligence. And if they haven't, then that's a big issue for me. But I think for the most part, you believe the journalists. I know all the hoops you have to jump through. It takes a lot. But when it's just Twitter, what hoops am I jumping through? What sources am I presenting? What information am I presenting? What narrative am I telling? I'm not doing any of that shit, am I? You know, it's
Mhm.
like it's just 140 characters. Hey guys, Makalela's gonna get kicked from Nip. Like people knew it was happening, right? But like,
Right.
why should they believe my tweet over your tweet over some Swede's tweet? Twitter is not like we shouldn't be going down the road of like, oh, anyone who tweets anything, that's news now. Like, that's only going to
I'm
weaken the industry. And
I would.
I know you knew. I know you knew. But this is the takeaway. This is the homework assignment that we take away from it. You need to ask yourself how you could have got that out quicker.
How I could have got that out quicker. Well,
Yeah.
essentially, when I published the article, that was when it got out quicker because obviously the traffic on Reddit is completely different from Twitter, especially with my following or when like people on Reddit are more interested in League. And obviously, I got that out there, but when I did it was like in a time span of like 15 minutes between both articles, so it was a problem. But I wanted to just address one of the points that you were just mentioning in
Yeah,
terms of.
absolutely. We'll do one other, and then obviously because of the Frankie trolling, we're really pressed for time, and I want to get one more call on Ali. So yeah, we'll if we can just do quickly one more point, that'll be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, no problem. So basically, what you said was about the following that people would have, or that I would have to reach the stage where people would take my word for granted, or that they would believe that. But essentially, the funny thing is that for me, or for other people in my position, because I know there's people out there who are really devoted to journalism and stuff, they can't really reach that stage unless people acknowledge them for the things that they got right. You know, like essentially what I just feel like there's some sort of preferential treatment going on between the established sites and stuff, and this is what bothered me, and that's what I wanted to get
I
out.
no no I look, you're right. There is going to be some preferential treatment going on for established sites. Like first of all, I think the fact that the moderators once on the subreddit, which we haven't really talked about, and I definitely want to dedicate some attention to this point. I think first of all, the moderators, right? Look here, watch Ali. I'm going to do something for you. Okay, so just imagine you're not on the call a second. LOL, League of Legends sub moderators in general, moderators of Reddit, please start accepting that your position is janitorial in nature. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. The only decision you should be making is, does this belong on the subreddit or not? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, you hit delete. Should a user be banned or not? If the answer is yes, you hit delete. You ban them. Okay, that is it. You are janitors. That is it. Okay, fact. I'm sorry to piss on your chips. That's what you are. You volunteer for that. That's what you are. So why do you continually wade in matters of journalism and ethics and what's right and what's wrong and make things harder for yourself and then cry about how fucking miserable you are about having to do all of this stuff? Get a fucking grip. Stop this. There was a rumor thread. There was a fact thread. What's the problem? Let the people upvote. Let democracy take its part. You know, it just that's all you need to do. Your janitors, deal with it, please. So anyway, okay, back to you, Ali. Right, back to you. Right now, here's the thing: they shouldn't have deleted your thread. Absolutely, they shouldn't have done. And the people should have decided which
restored it, obviously.
better, and you know which public. And you're right, people are going to lean towards the more well-known publication. Summoners In had this before with the XPK story. So what I want to say is this: there's a reason why people lean towards better-known publications, because generally they've earned it, man. It's their reputation. They've put out consistently good stories. You're not in that position now, but things like this will help you get in that position. And trust me, when you're in that position, you won't be complaining about getting that preferential treatment when people use you as a reliable source of news. You'll be like, fuck, I earned this. So that's just the thing. All right, that's just something for you to take into account. But the other thing I think is important to say is that when you write stuff up and it's a rumor and it's being confirmed and this kind of thing, you know, people have to be careful. People are going to click when a rumor is being abound and it's out there. People are going to click on whoever they feel has the more credibility. Credibility is earned, and you earn it through time in the scene, experience, being right. That this is how you earn it, and I'm pretty sure you will. But right now, you can't expect it to all click into place at once. Here's a little tip for you as well. Final point, and then we're going to move on to another caller. So here's mechanically how you can game the system, and a few websites do this. So the minute you know that something is fact, the minute you know that Dexter's joining Elements, don't tweet it. Don't tweet it at all. Go to your website.
That was the mistake.
I'll tell you. No. Go to your website. Type Dexter joins Elements is the headline. Then in the body of the text on whatever CMS system you're using, you type more to follow. Then you don't write the story up. You tweet it out. You know, someone uploads it to Reddit, however it works.
Yeah.
You get it out there first, and people are like, well, all it says is more to follow. And while people are looking at it and giving you the traffic, like, what the fuck, there's no information here. You type up the information and you post it.
That's pretty good advice. I haven't thought of that, but I will look for it. Like, I will be doing that in the future for sure. Thanks for your advice.
No worries, Ali. I live to give. I love journalists. I love us all. We're all one big family and fraternity, except maybe the score. They're kind of douchey. But at the end of the day, I'm kidding. I even love the score. I love you, Nilo. But the point is, man, like, it's a learning curve, and you're gonna get fucked in the ass 4 times before you probably get to fuck someone else in the ass and feel good. That's life. That's just how it is. You'll learn from it. You'll be a better journalist as a result. Anyway, peace out, man. Have a great night, Ali. Great to finally talk.
Peace out, man.
No worries, all the best. He even said peace out back to me, Sam. Did you like that?
Yeah, what a gentleman. Double peace in it.
We all got a double peace, man. It's all about the peace,
Peace
right?
to the world, man. Peace to
The only fucking peace that goes on this stream should be a fucking hair piece. I keep catching glimpses. It's like, I look like an escaped mental patient. Why is there a missing patch of hair there? What did my barber do to me?
You're like Benjamin Button in the last few weeks with all your hair growing back, and now it's fucking going back to normal again.
I know, what the fuck. Oh man, chemo's a motherfucker. So let's do one more call. Have we got time for one more call?
Yeah,
I think.
we do.
Is
yeah,
it big?
We do. Yeah, it is. It's the boy, Big Hungry, and he wants to talk about the League of Legends format, CG Entus, Cloud9, G Tigers, and he wants to talk about the scores coverage. Partner.
Five.
Do.
You know what? If it was anyone else, I'd be like, get fucked. But because it's Big Hungry, it's Big Seth. Let's get him on. I don't care. He can talk as long as he wants.
Come on, big boy Hungry, don't do this to me now.
He'll be there. He'll be there.
Is he? Is he? It's happening. It's happening. Oh, he chose the wrong time to go for a piss. chose the wrong time.
Hey, look, we'll fill. Fuck it, we'll fill. We'll wait. We're definitely gonna get Seth on. We'll wait for him. Somebody said my handlebar tash isn't even. It's not. It's just I've got like a really thin grey bit down here. I think. Like I started to get a grey beard. A fucking grey beard. I'm in my 30s.
Start wearing a wizard
Grey
hat.
hair.
Oh,
Grey.
you fools.
No, grey pubes. Grey pubes. Grey pube. I had a grey pube.
Did you run around the house saying it? I've got a grey pube.
Well,
It's the end.
according to people on Reddit, who am I going to show it to? In there, so
Sorry about that, mate.
oh,
He's in. He's in.
Oh,
Yep.
just before we do the calls, I was just going to say a guy on Reddit today. Shit, can I read this? Seth, please indulge me.
Go
'cause
for
the
it, man.
show's Great, fucking awesome. The show's gonna go on as long as it has to. Now that you've called in, but I just got to read this thing out, dude. But I was fucking buckled. Hang on, where was it, man? Oh shit, this was fucking. Here we go. So there was a Reddit user called Guest Top Go, and he where was it? What did he say? Oh shit! Hang on, I just Control F alone. Here we go. You're such a despicable person, seriously. I guess on the plus side, you'll be alone for the rest of your life. There's no way anyone could care about the awful person that you are. And do you want to know why this happened? All right? Because he was saying, ha ha ha, your job's a joke, your life's a joke. And then I told him, well, you know, I actually like what I do for a living. And then he went, yeah, but I'm a nurse and I make $90,000 a year. And I went, I made more than that this year, and I really like what I'm doing. And then he went, yeah, but my job's so fulfilling. Ha ha ha, you write for the Daily Dot, kill yourself type shit. And I went, you clean human shit for a living. And he went mental. It tipped him over the edge. And I'm like, look, I bring up who's got the better job or who earns more. You brought that up. It's a statement of fact. If you're a nurse, you're going to get puked on. You're going to get shot. Hey, I don't mind if you want to go down a bar like after work and be like, hey, baby, I'm so altruistic. I clean up people's dirty assholes. If you think that's going to, you know, it's okay though. They got diseases. If you think that's going to get you laid, like whatever you need to do to get through it, man. But like, don't shit on my job. I love my job. I wake up at fucking noon. I get baked. I have a drink. You know, I get to travel the world. It's fucking awesome. I love my job, man, and I make money doing it. So don't come rain on my parade. So anyway, yeah, this guy says I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, so I'd have no one to show a grey pube to. Unfortunately, I think next time I get a grey pube, maybe we just have a grey pube on stream.
Oh boy.
We'll do it. Anyway, Seth, my boy Big Hungry is on the show. First of all, before we even talk about your topics, how have you been?
I've been awesome, actually. I switched shifts, so I actually will be. You guys are the start of my morning. I'm a night shifter now at my job. Speaking of jobs and that $9,000, is that what he said? 9,000? Am I wrong on that?
No, 90,000. God.
Oh, 90,000. I was gonna say, holy shit! What kind of fucking nurse is that?
Yeah, exactly. Like that is the worst nurse. That's like the worst nurse. You know, it's pretty sucks. But yeah, but
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but you work around the clock. This is one of the reasons why I got so much respect for you, man. You like work all these double shifts, putting your cars together and shit. It's like it's crazy. I don't even know where you fit trash talk and all of these shows in.
I have to fit trash talk in. I mean, Richard, you're an awesome person. You and Thorn are two of the both people that make me sane. And also, I do have to appreciate you doing more editorial work. It's nice to get a different taste from you drunkenly berating strangers on stream and then going and drunkenly berating Ram and another stranger on stream.
Well, thank you. And as I said, and as I've said it before, people like you, the regulars on the show, the people that I've met through doing the show, you know, it's what keeps me doing the shows ultimately, because you know I might make more money than our nurse friend, but I certainly don't make it from doing this. So it's great to have you on. So you've got lots to talk about in relating to
Most
IEM.
definitely.
So fuck, man, where do you want to start? Let's disseminate.
Let's start with the score because you already brought it up. I love the large amount of advertising the score has been doing with this whole, oh, the IM is sponsored by The Score, you know, this great, we are a sports publication first, esports publication second. You know what? Honest to God, looking at this, it reminds me so much of fucking Riot. Like, every one of their articles reminds me of like a fucking Riot PR bullshit plug in, like, oh, TSM wins the world final. You know, they were put up there with Yoe Flash Wolves, WE, GE Tigers, you know, these great teams. Who the fuck puts, that tournament started, granted, if you go to the semifinals, you can put it in there. But when that tournament started, no one fucking put World Elite and fucking Yoe Flash Wolves in any top bracket.
No.
It was,
no.
It looked, honestly, as much as the IEM event was great, it was a great event, the final was a shit show, in my opinion. And that leads me into...
Well, hang on, let's rewind before we go in. Seriously, you've got all the time in the world, Seth. Let's talk a little bit about the score. I mean, just as a thought, like, in your opinion, should journalistic outlets, so let's say, for example... I'll use mine. I'll use the one I work for, the Daily Dot. Even though the show isn't sponsored by, doesn't represent the Daily Dot, I do work for the Daily Dot and happen to do this show. So I'll make that absolutely clear before you write into the Daily Dot and try and get me fired. But let's say the Daily Dot decided to have sponsor an event or sponsor a streamer and have them aggressively plug what they do while simultaneously covering the event. That's a conflict of interest, isn't it?
Most definitely. I mean, you talked about it great in your editorial piece. You were talking about how you worked for a company that had that happen, and then the event manager was like, "Oh, we have some bad PR, but we don't want you to publish it. Don't publish it. What can we do to make you not publish it?" And I mean, the score being as new as it is, and trying to be, "Oh, we are the dominant, the end boss," you know.
Oh, God.
Absolute
when Matt Demers
bullshit.
said we're not aiming to be the final boss of journalism, well, that's good, because I got fucking news for you, all right? Like, the 200-word rewrites of other people's stories you're doing ain't going to cut it. And I feel sorry for some of the guys over there. Like I said, Nilu's a great reporter, and you know, Fion... is a really good. His feature-length articles are great, but I feel they're controlled. Like as I said in that video, Seth, they weren't allowed to write about the MYM Corey situation because they didn't want to rock the boat. They had that story maybe 24 hours before I did, and they just didn't want to pull the trigger on it. And I think that's...
You don't want to rock the boat on something that's that important, something that's like detrimental to the future of players in League of Legends. That's something you don't want to rock the boat on. That's fucking pathetic, honestly. If you want to think about it, that is probably one of the most pathetic things I've heard in some time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either because, you know, I was like, oh, well, this is going to come out. And I did say it might have been a Trash Talk, it might have been a First Blood. I was like, look, I'm not going to write about this story because I don't want to be the guy that writes about all the stories. And other journalists have started digging into this. And I think it'd be really cool if another journalist broke this story and then I waited a week and nobody had done anything about it. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why
Won't you even
people
gave
write
the
this
fucking
shit?
information there? It's like, hey, there's this story, you know? You did the reverse of what the guy that just called in and talked to you about, how it was like, oh, I posted the story on Twitter and then someone stole it, as opposed to, you're like, hey, here's this awesome cake. I'm just going to leave it here on the table. If anyone wants to take a piece of it, you're more than welcome to it. I'm just going to turn my back over here. And you wait a couple hours, you turn back around. It's like, what the fuck? No one's eating any of the cake.
Yeah. But where did my cake go?
Yeah,
I only left it at a disused bus station surrounded by starving homeless people, and someone ate it. Go figure. But look, man. So I agree with you. I think everyone can agree. Really, it's a clear conflict of interest. I don't blame IEM or ESL for doing it.
No.
You take sponsors where you can find them. It's not really on them to be. Oh well, this is a breach of journalistic ethics or whatever. Although I would say Carmack having been, he's the guy who crops up every 3 to 6 months going, man, when I was doing sports journalism, it was so much better. And it's like, come on, motherfucker. You're now encouraging people to go off the fucking beaten path and do unethical shit in journalism. But that's fine. That's the nature of the beast. But I would have thought the score would have had enough self-awareness to realize that sponsoring events and streamers, and then when Carmack tweeted, "Hey, I think the Score, who paid us money, has done some really good coverage, and I think that independently of the money, are you fucking stupid? Is anyone buying this shit?" So anyway, let's talk about the tournament. Come on.
Well,
Seth,
actually, one more thing for the Score. It reminds me a lot of what is it? On Gamers, GameSpot, whatever the hell it is now, this big company coming in. Oh yeah, we've got tons of money. We're gonna throw it into esports. This thing's gonna become huge. And where did they go now? Oh, Travis is doing another interview. He's actually doing an interview with LS, and his big comment. I still think this is probably the best thing, especially because we had this context for the show earlier, as he does an interview with LS and goes, "Oh, is the reason why you're not leaving Korea is all the ladies?" It's just like. Did you even think before you fucking opened your mouth and said, "Hey, that's the reason why he's leaving"? Yep, that's why he's having problems leaving. All the ladies that he's got. It's like, did you even fucking go in and go, "Oh, who is Last Shadow? Let's look up some shit." Hey, we're gonna do this interview with Last Shadow, and yeah, all the ladies. That's we'll just throw the generic fucking question out there. That shows a lot for Travis. And you said that, Travis wants to do bigger stuff, and I hope he does. I hope, as much as I don't like Travis's voice, I hope he finally, pulls his head out of his ass and actually does some real journalism. But as an overall, you can't go into an interview like that and not research fucking anything and then go, "Oh, yeah." Because the face, Last Shadow's face during that interview is probably one of the most priceless things in the world. When he gets asked, "Is it because you got to tell all the Korean ladies it's time for me to go to NA?" It's like,
dude,
I figured you get a kick out of that.
Oh, you fucking killed it! I didn't even see that, man. I love Travis.
I'll have to link it to you on Twitter at some point. But yeah, it's
please. I never watched that, but holy shit, what a thing to say to a guy with a boyfriend. That's incredible.
It was great because he doesn't ever tell him he has a boyfriend. He says he's in or LS will go on and say, "Oh, I was in a relationship." And I'm pretty sure Travis is just so fucking clueless at this point to going, "Oh, he must have a girlfriend."
But possibly, I don't know. I definitely don't want to get into that. Reading.
Oh yeah, no.
Is a difficult thing to achieve. So let's talk about IEM Katowice, the actual tournament itself. So I'm guessing you, in between shifts, managed to follow the tournament reasonably well.
Yeah, as I say, I normally watch VODs throughout the whole 8-hour shift that I do. Listen to most of it. But anyway, my first thing I want to take away, I didn't get to watch the whole B group. I've kind of skimmed over it and TSM's games leading up to the finals. To say TSM, especially in this new power ranking, which I find absolutely hilarious that GE has now gone down to an international by losing to World Elite, which they did have a very, very poor showing. That being said, any TSM fan, because I know there's a ton of them on this stream, I've watched the little Twitch chat go on, TSM. If you really think that TSM would have had a shot if the GE that's been playing in Korea this whole time had come in, you're fucking out of your mind. You whatever you're smoking, give me some of that, because that's some great hallucinogenic shit right there. But yeah, we go to CJ Entus, and that was a big thing that it was kind of a disappointing showing by them. I think the biggest thing that I didn't understand is during the game against TSM, they played Zerath for the first time ever competitively. That is the first time Coco has ever played Zerath in the competitive scene for 2015. And they had the setup for what they normally run in their games to run Ezreal in the mid lane and run the double AD composition, push down towers, and would take that game. And I don't understand why they wouldn't run that composition into what TSM had, especially because they had the Annie for, I think they had the Annie. Hold on, let me double check that real fast. I'm gonna pull the actual thing up.
Yeah, do it, man.
Make myself look like a fool.
Yeah, well, Trust me, it's better that you get your facts right. You know how Twitch chat is, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're a harsh bunch.
I wish this was much easier to look up.
It's the Scara keyboard.
Oh yeah, I haven't set my mic right for this Skype, which makes me sad because I've got a really nice mic.
Hey, yeah, I know you do. Didn't you get a Blue Yeti or something?
Blue Yeti Pro, actually.
Yeah, see, I recall. Richard remembers all of this stuff. Richard Lewis loves his regular callers. Fact. Never let it be said otherwise.
Never let it. Let's see. I have to pull it up in a YouTube video, for fuck's sakes. Okay. So yeah, they had the Annie, which is their biggest. Like they've got the Annie Silver Maokai engaged, but even then, you've got enough they should have played a disengaged support. I don't understand why Mad Life played Leona. That's not typically a stylistic champion of him. He would have been better off playing something like a Janna, something like a Nami, something to disengage. And I don't understand why they didn't just go for what they've done in the past, where they have Mundo in the front or diving in on the back line on a very squishy team minus the Maokai, and just hiding them around the map. And I mean, that's honestly what CJ has done, and that's what they've done well, and that's what they've won games with. So I feel CJ had a very, very poor performance and a very, they didn't play to their strengths, I guess is the best way to put it. But enough of the CJ. That was kind of a small rant. GA came into the tournament, won both their games, one after the other, pretty dominant fashion. And I don't understand the reasoning for them to pick Yasuo in that second game. It felt like they pulled a Samsung White from Season 13 Worlds, where they thought, oh, we are the invincible team. And then they overhyped themselves.
Well, I mean, look, okay. I mean, I don't know if it was that, right? I mean, did you not hear the caller at the start of the show, Seth? Do you not think the patch thing might have been a factor in that? I mean, don't get me wrong, Yasuo.
I definitely do, but I mean, I think it feels like GE didn't pull that's not a stylistic composition they've ever run for being a new team. They've been a very kitey, non-disengaged, very toilet around the map, and they play like C9 used to, which we'll get to that in a second, because that's there's more meat to that than this little analytical snippet.
Yeah, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were gonna go for Frankie's job as an analyst.
Oh, fuck no. Fuck that. Let's not talk about that. That was a very sad day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Tell me about it, man. I think it's the first time I really think the show's possibly strayed close to going too far.
Yeah, I think it reminded me of the Louis C.K. where he goes, I've now found the bottom. I've found my limits.
Yeah, but to be fair, Louis C.K. said that. I can't even remember what it was he said. But didn't he say some? Oh God, I'm not even going to repeat it on stream. It's not worth it. But he said something somewhat disparaging about Chinese children.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he went,
like, I think I've now found my limit.
I found the bottom. Yeah, but I can't get away with that because this is esports, while I look like Louis C.K., I certainly can't get away with the things he says.
Exactly. But I think this tournament was probably the best showing for WE as far as their new roster goes. I think it's one of the things that they proved that they're going to be a force when they go back to LPL, hopefully. Fingers crossed on that. But as an overall, it felt lackluster. It felt like it was very one-sided as far as their whole, we're drafting the bracket this way. You know, we've got TSM over here with, let's see, World Elite was over there. At least that was something. But even then, when World Elite came into the competition, it wasn't seen as the easy team. You've got Gambit, who's fourth place right now. They're kind of trying to do something, but it doesn't seem like they're doing much. I'll be honest with you, I don't follow EU. I don't
think right now I don't think I should follow fucking EU. Like it fucking shames me in a lot of ways. Like I flowed out last night. I said I think we need to accept that EU is now like the weakest major region. I just think we need to do that, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's fucking so bad. Like,
Yeah, I do want to say this to all the TSM. You know, I'm constantly bashing TSM at this point, so I'm sorry if you're losing people watching the show.
oh no. Actually, you know what's that? It's going up. We're hitting a higher peak than we had Crazy Frankie on the show. So
Oh,
you've
wonderful.
you've got star power, brother.
Oh, fuck that. I don't have any fucking star power. Are you kidding me? I'm a no-name nobody that works in a factory.
Seriously,
Podunk.
we're gonna have to make this show trash talk with Big Hungry. We're gonna have to. I think I'll get
You know
Sam
what?
the overlays. He's got nothing to do with his life, so we'll just.
Mint.
That sounds about right. Sam. I am glad though that you got to feed Sam.
Ricky no fingers.
I'll tell you this, right? This is a true story. So we had a big meeting in London, like all of the people that operate around the show and operate around me. And Sam turned up, and it was like, you know, it was as awkward as you'd imagine. We were all there in suits.
What the fuck bullshit story is this? As if this ever happened?
I can see Sam
As
coming
if I've
out like
ever
the kid
left
from...
Port Talbot?
Sam,
That's a valid point. You think he leaves anywhere? The
Was it
dwelling
the-
of his home?
was it the Lacoste jumper?
No, it was Cabrini, mate.
Yeah, there we go. So we had to actually fight to get Sam in because we were all in suits and we were going to like oyster and champagne.
What is this story?
We had to fight to get Sam into the thing, and he was dressed like a British chav with like things like that. Anyway, we got him in. And you know, we had a night there, and he was like just sat there awkward, like not talking to anyone. And then later that night, you know, I pulled him to one side and I said, "Sam, you know, it's great, man. We've got the funding. We're going to be able to keep working with each other for a long time." He said, "Yeah, but you know what?" He said, "But the thing is, I don't think we're equals, Rich." And I went, "What do you mean, Sam? You don't think we're equals?" And he went, I've never had sex with a woman." And I went,
Neither have I.
"We can fix it right now. We can
We
fix
can fix
it
that
right
right now.
now." So we went out and we got Sam laid, and that was our entire production budget, which is why the show still has the same shit overlays. True story.
All 30 quid.
So there you go. But anyway, so sorry, do continue, Seth. I just
Yeah.
like.
It's the most bullshit story of all time. Just like
Sam, we all know.
Is it though? Anyway,
Sam, we all know it, but at the end of that, you know, Ivan, after all, he took you out, you still went home and had a nice hot pot noodle and a wank.
no, do you want to know what's so good about it? It was like we even got a discount because she said she had to get back home for 5 kids.
as if this is a real story.
It makes sense.
People will actually believe this.
And she was working as was it a dinner lady, Sam? I get mixed up. But she was working, I think, as a dinner lady that day in school. She had to go and give the kids. It's like, if we're going to do this, because it was pretty late. I mean, it was getting light outside. And she was like, we're going to have to do this real quick. So I think they just did it up against a bin or something. Or
That sounds about right.
No,
I mean, it's
all grinning. He took his jumper off. He said, "I'll never need a Lacoste jumper again." It was great. It was you know. It was
and then he came home and had his hot pot noodle, right? Is that about right?
People can decide who they believe, the journalist or the producer. Anyway, Seth, do continue with your IEM summary.
Yes. And then I guess the biggest thing to take away from this tournament, is it time for Cloud9 to seriously look at themselves and go, mid lane isn't working? Is it time for them to finally cut? And I mean, Sky said it best. He doesn't think the coach will actually do it. But I think Cloud9 and TSM are both in the boat where they can't just judge themselves off of local competition. Yeah. They've proven that they can go to multiple international competitions. And besides this one, which I agree, I think was a shit show, but that's my own fucking personal opinion. I actually hate TSM. Like, I have an unbridled rage.
I love TSM.
And it's just because
I'm a TSM fan, dude. That's
I'm
true.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Right. I'm sorry for your poor decisions in life. I think the biggest thing that it drives me nuts, and I mean, you did an editorial on this as well, is how Reggie handled the situation with Thorin. And it goes back to the whole, when I apologize for Curse, I feel the fans need to hold the organization to a higher standard if they're going to try to downgrade content. creators, it drives me nuts. And I think the best part is during his little like interview where he's like, "Oh, Thorin, you know, this guy's bashing us. We know we're not doing so well." Okay, so you're pissed off because you guys aren't doing well, and someone else is putting it out. Like, and then you're going to say, "We understand we're not doing well." Then I guess that's before the whole comparing him to Caesar, which I feel when you did your editorial, I feel like he did it in a manner that didn't seem as racist to me. But then again,
I was with you on that one, dude. I was with you, but like let's get back to Cloud9 and
yeah, let's
High.
go back to Cloud9.
Okay,
yeah.
so I said this again on the loadout last night, but no one watches that show, so it's okay to repeat myself. And that was basically, I think, look, High is battled with all sorts of health problems. You know, he's had a collapsed lung. I don't know how the fuck he collapsed it. I mean, you know, lay off the bong hits. I don't know, but you know, to come from in all seriousness, to have a collapsed lung out of nowhere, that's a hugely difficult health problem. It meant he was out of the team for a while. He comes back, he gets carpal tunnel. That's no joke. I mean, that's like the kiss of death for a fucking pro gamer, right? Who are using their wrists every day. So this guy has had a real tough time, and he's not good enough, not because he couldn't be good enough, but he's not good enough because of all these mitigating circumstances and mitigating factors, in my opinion. So I think he needs to look. Here's what I believe, and someone can just like don't make a clip of it and put it in your YouTube channel because we've established that would suck for me. But just keep the clip. And here's what I think will happen. I think end of the season, High will move down. I think because of Jack's desire to retain and keep people involved in the team, they'll find something for him, whether it's water boy, coach, analyst, whatever. They'll find a reason to give him money because of everything he's done for the team, provided he can't get another job or he doesn't end up on the analysis desk like all the other pros do or whatever. And they will look to get a big name star player into that mid area. And as I know, they've already talked to Incarnation about this. This conversation has happened. This has been reported on. This is not a secret. And trust me, if Incarnation gets unbanned by Riot and Incarnation comes into Cloud9, people need to watch the fuck out because Incarnation is no joke. He will slot into any team and be absolutely amazing, and he will be top 2 in any Western region. I have no doubt about that. Like, seriously, he's that good. So, if that does happen, I think Cloud9 are going to be fucking living the dream, Seth. But yeah, I agree. I think High has got to go. I think he's got to go, and it's not his fault, but this is a results-driven business. Is Seth dead?
He's here.
Seth?
He's gone.
It's gone. Did I bore Seth?
Nah. Bruh.
I don't know what to do here. Do we wait for him to get back? I said the show will. I did say the show would go on as long as it has to, but
Seth is killed.
Seth is dead. Maybe he hates EU so much that hearing me praise.
Oh, he's gone.
Nah, he's gone. Fuck. Guess
Oh,
yeah, they
he's
got.
back.
Oh.
Is this any better?
Oh.
Oh,
Get
here it is. I don't know what happened, brother.
Cut off for some reason. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. So anyway, that was my opinion. Yeah, I agree. I think Cloud9 should move on from High.
Most definitely. I think the final thing that I had written down for Sam was the format. And I feel, and this needs to come to the West real fucking quick, best of ones are absolute shit. The format for League does not work well with best of ones. It doesn't show any real fucking talent or anything. Like, fuck, beginning of the year, fucking Team 8 beat TSM. Does that mean Team 8 would have gone to the fucking ends of IEM to win it against WE? Fuck no. No one in their right mind would say something like that. This best of one system is like absolute garbage. And I feel if you're not going to go to the best of 3 like Korea is, which is fine, you know, Riot's all about how, we don't have the time or we don't want to put in the effort. Do the best of 2 system that China's got, one after the other, and don't do the double round robin. Make it so, okay, TSM plays Team 8 first week, they lose that first game, but now they have to play again right after. So can TSM adapt? Can can Team 8 actually do something? Are they actually a better team than TSM? And it kind of proves with some sort of congruency that you can do different things like this.
Mm.
And that's my biggest beef. I mean, even with IAM, I hated the best of one. I absolutely hated that fucking.
Here's the thing, and again, I feel like I'm repeating myself. I did talk about this on the loadout yesterday, and just to say it again. And this is the thing: the reality is the best of one series. We can't really get rid of it because unless if you have a certain amount of teams and you're not confident in how the event is going to run, and you've got a hired venue and there's constraints, having a best of three is a lottery. Because games can be, super short. They can be super long. We don't know. And then you got three of them. And then we got technical problems. And then we got... So it's a fucking nightmare. What we really need from an event is to get from point A to point B. A being the start, B being the finish. We need to get to that without any issue whatsoever, on time, on schedule. And to do that, you've got to minimize variables. Introducing a best of three series in the group stage is a variable. I'm not saying it isn't the optimal setting. I totally agree with you. I'd much rather see a series over a best of one, but equally I have some sympathy with the tournament organizers. And perhaps not a lot of people have this perspective, and I'll tell you why it's ingrained in me. Way back in the day, you talking 2006 maybe, I was going to esports events, and I've attended events where people didn't even get to play the final at a live event. I've been to Counter-Strike events where they've come out around about the semi-finals and gone, guys, we're all out of time. We're going to have to finish this online. Well, what was the point of having us come to your event in the first place? And it sucks and no one likes it. And the event, it's considered a joke. Again, the company doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. But one of the ones was that I feel comfortable talking about because the company doesn't exist. There was something called SGL Summer Slam. As if it was a wrestling event. It was like the SGL Summer Slammer or something. And basically, they hired a venue. They didn't know what to do. There was all sorts of amateurish problems. And it got to the semis, and we were like, fuck it, guys. You're all going to have to go back home, get back online, and we'll settle it online. And nobody wants to see that. And certainly, if that happened at a major event, everyone would be like, fuck esports, we're done here. It just proves how amateur we are. So people need to err on the side of caution. So I agree with you. It's not optimal. The format's not optimal. But I understand why it's necessary. That said, there's an event this weekend, which I may or may not be at, because I may or may not be working for it, called Gfinity. And they're doing that sort of GSL format in the groups for Counter-Strike. So just putting that out there.
Just plugging that in there.
Yeah, I got to because they may or may not have hired me, and I may or may not. I may or may not be like the score right now.
Yeah,
plugging my shit.
Money.
No, I mean, like I feel comfortable putting it out there because I've had a few drinks, but ultimately, I'll be down there doing that, and it's an interesting format for Counter-Strike fans. Anyway, Seth, any final thoughts while you're here, brother?
Not really. I mean, I guess the biggest thing to take away from this is I don't feel this is a true view of where the West stands in international competition. Maybe other people will disagree with me. I feel having a the bottom tier LPL team coming in there doesn't really show that region's strength, and that's actually a scary thing if you think about it from just the context alone. But I want to say the West is getting better. I as much as I dislike TSM, as much as I don't watch the West as much as I used to because I just find Korean games so much more enjoyable. I hope that one day we can get to a point where the disparity isn't so large and we can go into an international event and actually feel like there is some sort of parity there where it's not just, well, let's see, one of the Samsung teams is going to win this one, looking at it. Oh, surprise! One of the Samsung teams did win it.
Hey, I'd love to see that, man. I really would. I think the idea of having a genuine, open tournament with all the best teams in the world in optimal condition, that'd be brilliant. That'd be good for any
Yeah.
esport. That'd be good for any sport. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think IEM is like a beautiful anomaly. It's flawed, but that's the appeal. Like nobody knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
TSM can lose to a Unicorns of Love, and then the next one, TSM can beat all the best. Well, not all the best teams, but they can beat some of the best teams and win an international
Yeah.
tournament with the best teams in attendance. And Cloud9 can capitulate at one event and do really well at another. I think. Well, this is what makes IEM exciting. This is why we want more of these international tournaments. This is why I lament and miss, having a DreamHack and having all of this other shit that Riot put a hold on. But I have got to say, I agree with you. I think it's a bit of a false. I think it's a false reality. I think it's a fantasy. I agree with you. I think IEM means nothing in the grand scheme of things. And by the time we've got to the end of the year and Worlds comes trundling along, you can say TSM as loudly as you want it, as often as you want to, but ultimately the Koreans will dominate and triumph, and that's just the reality. So,
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Cool.
One thing I would like to say is just because I thought you were drinking was that the Hibiki whiskey, by the way?
Oh yeah, I did drink the Hibiki.
I actually found a bottle of that around me, so I'm well done on your drinking choices, by the way.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that I like to drive my viewers to tasteful alcoholism. That's how I describe it. But anyway, look, Seth, it's always a pleasure to hear from you, and thanks for supporting the show, and thanks for calling in. It's always enlightening. So I wish you all the best, and I'm glad that you didn't cut off and just leave us hanging. So
I'm
have
sorry
a
about
lovely
that.
evening. Hey, no need to apologize, man. It's all part of the fun, and no doubt we'll hear from you again in the future.
Most definitely. You have a wonderful night, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care.
Take
So
care.
there we go. Final caller of the show. The man, the myth, the legend. Big Hungry. So what do you think of that show, Sam? Honest opinions.
Halfway through it, kind of thinking, did I choose the right path in life? I guess we'll find out in the future, eh?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, another way of looking at it is, at this rate, next time we go out for dinner, you'll be able to bring a suit and a cost jumper.
I've got a suit. Get fucked. I'm not that much of a tramp.
But
I'm not a
to be
poor
fair,
Talbot
the last time you
scumman.
wore it was in that court appearance for shoplifting.
Fuck off. It was at a wedding, so get fucked. Right?
It was at a wedding where the person who prosecuted me for shoplifting was getting married.
Where I stole it.
and it was part of my fucking probation that I had to attend and pretend I knew everyone.
Ripped it off the groom's back.
So, look, let's wrap up this show. It's been awesome. 2.5 hours of fun frolics. We've had slander. Thank you, Frankie. We've had good times. Thank you, Seth.
Do you want a show?
We've had life lessons. Thanks, Ali. And everybody else who called in, whose name temporarily escapes me due to my current state of inebriation. It's been good, man. I'm glad all you guys tuned in and didn't forget about the show. It is going to be regular. We're going to try and do it every Tuesday moving forward. And I think this underlines why this show is great and necessary. We had lots of awesome stuff.
I was going to say, do you want to show the teaser intro for the new show?
Which one, though? Is it the... Are you going to show the one without the words? Do the one without the words.
Alright, the one without the words.
The one without the words. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll leave you with a little teaser, our introduction titles that we've made for the new show we're going to broadcast at an unnamed date called I Hate It Here. For those that have just tuned in, that's going to be a show where I and possibly other people break down all of the worst stories in the news and every reason why the planet sucks ass. Thanks a lot for watching, Sam. Instead of playing out as we usually do, we're going to show you the title sequence for I Hate It Here. See you next Tuesday on Trash Talk. Have a lovely evening. Can't believe you just showed me having a blaze, prick.